Defining Duke is brought to you by Indeed. The reason I like Indeed is because of its instant match feature. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in a search, according to US Indeed data. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on the hiring process. So visit Indeed.com/Duke to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/Duke. Indeed.com/Duke. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 116 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by the Paxman himself, Lord Cognito. How are you, sir?
No challenger. I like the new Tekken announcer. He's hilarious to me. Have you heard him?
Yes. New Lars Anderson trailer, too.
I didn't even see it. I'm all over. I missed him.
Oh, you didn't see my anime boy? Yes, sir.
He dropped the trailer this week.
I
missed it. I saw King. I saw who we had before King. We had Paul Phoenix. You know, Lord looking like straight up like Bruce Lee. Oh, by the way, I'm doing fantastic, but I'm in my Tekken voice. So anytime I answer, I might go, no challenger. What's good on with you, man? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Just getting everything together for a trip to Boston. We're going to PAX East this weekend. It's going to be a good time, but it's that I love traveling, right? And it was really tough, for example, not being able to go to the Last Stand live event, right? But because I love traveling, but it's the leading up to the travel that gets me, man. Every bit of preparation, because pretty much I have to make sure the business runs while I'm gone for a handful of days. So like I'm doing, instead of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm like, okay, I'm doing Thursday and Friday's work today. I'm doing next week's Monday and Tuesday work. And it's great because then you get to kind of detach after, but man, do you got to work to get it, which it's a give and take relationship. So I'm doing good, but here we are today. For those who are wondering, we are recording this episode one day early just to make sure that we're all prepped and good to go for PAX East. So just keep that in mind if any news is to break for Xbox on Wednesday, which is looking like a low-key week, but famous last words. I probably shouldn't even bother saying that.
You should have put that out there.
I put the juju, I put the Duke curse out because we've been doing really well.
We've been good.
Right? We haven't really missed anything. We haven't had to reorganize the show. It's been great. So maybe this will be the week that we feel like, man, but I'm hoping the good luck continues and that we can record on a Tuesday this week and we will not pay the price. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you being here. For those who want to support our show, we offer early access every Thursday over on patreon.com/laststandmedia. You can also get our exclusive show, Defining Duke Ultimate. Now, got a little treat for you. And if you're listening to this show already, you'll know. But for those of you who are freeloaders, we'll call you, you're also going to enjoy our next episode of Defining Duke Ultimate because it is our impressions on Redfall. So that's out right now for free to everyone. It lifted or it dropped with the embargo. So if you missed it and you want to know what myself, Cog, as well as Saab thought about Redfall after our time with it, go ahead, check it out, free for everyone. Usually, though, DDU goes out to patrons. So just keep that in mind if you like the content there. That plus many more shows are available on Last Stand Media. But Cog, you know, I don't get to ask you often because we're on a bi-weekly basis, but what's the DDU review for our Redfall impressions?
Oh, it was good. It was so good because I got a chance to truly understand certain perspectives. I learned when Sav and Maddie get together, I'm in trouble. I'm going to hear
that was a dangerous duo for that, man. Oh. He was unlocking parts of my brain where I wasn't even thinking about certain parts of the game. I was like, it's like Sav's cooking right now.
Yeah, he was cooking, and then Maddie was cooking, and I'm like, okay, I see what's going on. It's a fun one. It was really cool to have Sav. He's hard to get outside, but when you get him, it was so much fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I hope everybody enjoys that one, man. I had fun doing that.
Absolutely. We'll cover mobile reviews next week just for the sake of time. We're going to let them stack a little bit. We do have a new handful of them. We appreciate you submitting them. We've been pushing for those reviews because they have been moving us up the mobile charts. Again, you can use chartable.com, see where we lie out there. So, I'm giving you the God's honest truth that we're trying to grow the mobile front. And right now, Cog, as of Tuesday, 3:30 p.m., Apple Podcasts, United States Video Games, number 44.
Okay, we're moving up, baby.
I remember moving up, baby. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we appreciate your mobile reviews. It's getting us recommended a little bit more to your casual listeners, and we're trying to get that global reach. We're actually starting to chart in Brazil, which is cool. So yeah, we're trying to reach out more. We're trying to expand the reach of the Dukes. That's thanks to your reviews. Seriously, they help. Thank you. We appreciate it. And with that, we will review your reviews next week.
Yes.
Let's start off with a quick correction from Zach Dalton. Hey, boys, just a small, quick correction. Last week, while discussing Xbox delays, you had a brief conversation about The Last of Us faction games and when it's supposed to be out. Maddie said he believed the game was supposed to come out the same year as The Last of Us Part 2 did. The game has actually never had a time frame to be released, and all they ever said is that it would be its own standalone game and that we would eventually get it. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. That's why I run an Xbox podcast, not a PlayStation show. Thank you, Zach.
Much love, Zach.
This one I couldn't resist, though.
Uh-oh.
Ruben Barrett writes in, hey, Dukes. I've been seeing this in loads of reels and mentioned on a few podcasts over the last few years. What's up with Americans getting takeout, then eating it in their cars in some random parking lot? Are there no restaurants to eat in? Is the vibe just off in McDonald's? Please explain this phenomenon to someone living on the other side of the planet. Ruben, I think this is a great question. As someone, I don't really eat fast food anymore, but I used to do this all the time. And I think I have an answer for it, but I'm curious what yours is, Cog. Like when you get that McDonald's, you don't go inside, but you'll park in the lot across the street, and that's there. That's your restaurant, right? That's your experience. Thanks. You sit there and you eat that meal. Do you have a rhyme or reason as to why you do that?
I mean, usually with us, it was like, we from the era of the drive-through, so it's like you get the drive-through, you order the joint, and it's just a vibe. Like I don't know what it is. He's like, yo, Paul, pull over, we gotta eat now. And then dudes are like, you got the cup holders. All right, yo, bro, who got the ketchup? Like it's just a thing. Like I don't. It's an American culture thing. Maybe we just,
camaraderie of eating crappy food in a car together.
It's something about eating food that I could consider you can travel with. Right. So it's like we always want to go. We don't necessarily have time to stop all the time and do the traditional sit down, whatever. So sometimes it's like, yo, what's open? Let's grab this. And it's a vibe. You pull over. I don't know. It's funny to hear that from someone on the other side of the country, like on the other side of the world. And it probably does look weird, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's just an American. And then, obviously I recently did a constellation with Gene Park and Colin.
Oh,
and
really?
we talked about the medicinal purposes of certain substances and stuff like that. And that's also a vibe, you know what I'm saying? So I got my weed heads that would do it, my regular friends, or just in a rush. We're just on the go people, and it's just something fun. Yeah. Do. So what about you?
American culture is impatient for sure.
Yes, very much so. We ain't waiting.
For me, because like I said, I haven't done it in a while because I don't eat fast food. So I remember for me, it was in high school, and I think it was a decompression thing for me. Like I find peace in seldom areas. One being the shower, nothing can stop me there. The other being my car. Now, I'm not one of those people who goes, I need to clear my head. I'm going on a car ride. That's what my fiance does. But for me, I remember really liking getting some food and just sitting in a lot and enjoying my meal by myself. No sound, no music, no nothing. We actually, funny enough, throwing back to a Constellation episode, we talked about dopamine detox. And I think I naturally built it into my life when I was younger because I always liked that moment of solitude. And I feel like the fast food meal, you're getting that treat of that good food in your system. So you're satisfying something within you, but it's in a peace and quiet environment. I also don't like the inside of these fast food chains. Like they're nasty, man. And also it's like when I touch the bench you sit on, it's so firm. I feel like I could just wipe my finger across it, pick up 8 million germs as I go along it. Call me a germaphobe. I'm usually not that bad, but man, the inside of fast food places, I feel like something's going to hop on my food and I just can't. So I think the car is just naturally where I'd want to eat because you got to get while it's hot. That's the other thing. Part 3.
Preach.
You cannot eat fast food. You can't be like, oh, we'll take this home with me. No, because once you start taking that double cheeseburger out, it's even lukewarm. It's shot. You need to have those McDonald's fries while they're steaming hot, jumping out the fryer. So just a little bit of Americana tip for those of you across the ocean.
One more. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the ultimate fast food kind of car eating stuff for us is White Castle. White Castle for us, bro, because it comes perfectly packed in those small boxes. It's very economic. It's very easy to use. You get in, you get out. Yo, let me get a 6-pack, 6 double cheeseburgers. Let me get some nibblers. Like, yo, and White Castle is the ultimate leaving the club food and there's nothing open, but White Castle open. And you should see the lines.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. Now, they do come back to you sometimes. White Castle has been known to have an effect.
Yeah.
To come back to you in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? But in that moment, life is good.
Isn't that always the case with fast food? I remember when I used to, I had braces when I was in high school. And so I hated the orthodontics, hated it. I was a little bit of a baby over it. And so my mom, being the excellent mother she is, she's like, we'll go to McDonald's after, like just trying to get me to stay on the grind, right? Because like he'd like tweak with my fucking teeth and I'd get pissed at this dude, man. Oh, God. I could see his face now. I don't like the guy. Like, I just don't like him. Like, he did his job, but I just don't like him. And so my mom would be like, well, we're going to go to McDonald's after. Get this right. Mr. Health Freak here was putting in $20 orders at McDonald's after every orthodontist appointment. Snack wrap, cheeseburger, large soda, large fry, 20-piece nugget, and I ate it all. That's why I don't think I can eat fast food now, because I got my fill in college and high school. I had my fill ad nauseum, bro. I did not have small orders. I was that guy. I was like the skinny fucking kid who was eating a ton of food. Yeah. I had friends who were a little bit bigger and they were just like, bro, I hate you. They're like, if I ate that, I gained 20 pounds. And I'm just like, I'm good. But now I try not to abuse that. I'm approaching my 30s. I don't want to get too comfortable here.
It's gonna slow down. It's gonna slow. Yeah, I was that kid too. Like I would just pack it, man. Metabolism. Yeah. People don't realize back in the day, Coggins was very skinny. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
bro, you're still in great shape. Stop that. Stop that.
I appreciate you.
I see you in person and you're just like, you're jacked. What's up, Matt? What's up, bro?
Why I gotta be?
You here for the Redfall event, bro?
No, bro. That was good. Fair enough. But yeah, shout out to this. I love this question, man. This is great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruben. All right. Yes. Let's get into gaming news. We're going to start off on a somber note here. Obviously, many of you have already heard, but rest in peace to Lance Reddick. Of course, he spans across all entertainment, but he was no stranger to video games. He very much embraced the gamer culture. You'd find him in Destiny 2. You'd find him in Quantum Break, Horizon Zero Dawn. Just a fantastic talent. Gone way too soon at the age of 60. And James Kinslow III had written in saying, hello, Dukes. Lance Reddick passed away at the youthful age of 60. And while he had an awesome career in acting in both movies and TV, let's not forget he has equally amazing roles in video games. What is a favorite memory of yours featuring a Lance Reddick role, whether it's a game, a movie, or a TV show? Rest in peace, Lance Reddick. So, Cog, I imagine, as the Destiny 2 guy, you should absolutely sound off on this first.
I appreciate it, man. This one hurt. This hit me hard, very hard. Lance is special, man. He meant so much to me because before video games, you know how like we call you, Matt, you always call it like your flannel, your flannel jack, something that you found that's so special that you think no one knows about. And it's like, man, if the world knew this, they would understand the greatness. And for me, it was The Wire. The Wire was a show. It was based out of Baltimore. It was real life. One perspective was cops. One perspective was the hustlers, the dudes on the street. And this was the most authentic depiction of street life. Me and King used to watch this. We'd be like, oh, this is a fish. Whoever's doing the research and the casting. And that's when I remember seeing Lance Reddick. He played a character called Lieutenant Daniels. He was on the cop side, and he was so good. That was one of his iconic roles. Another role for him, even before that, I believe he was on a prison series called Oz. He played a character, I think Detective Mobay, and he was a person that was flirting the line, going undercover. He played very, very, very powerful roles, and his personality always stood. As far as favorite memory, so many. He's got one. Destiny community. First of all, shout out to the Destiny community, because
I saw
as much crap sometimes as we get, what they did was so. I tear it up. Like every instance of the tower you went into, you would see at least a minimum of 5 to 10 gamers with their characters where Commander Zavala is, who Lance Reddick plays as the Titan Vanguard leader. Mm-hmm. And they're all like either doing like emotes, bending the knee, just putting up flags to celebrate. And they would stay there for hours. They would leave their character. Didn't matter what instance. Every time you go to the tower, it's another instance, right? These are thousands of instances. Bro, it was special. Like, it really hit me. I was just, wow, this is when gaming is special and people show how much you mean. But there's a famous line in Destiny 1, you know what I'm saying? And you fly in and everyone knows it because that's the first time we really heard Lance Reddick's voice. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We've got a situation on Mars. With the right team, we could punch through. You know what I'm saying? It's an iconic line. It's so iconic that Bungie even made a shirt. You know what I'm saying? For it. So He's definitely known in Destiny community for these amazing narrations as Commander Zavala. And we're in a world with a war with the Cabal. It's just it's a funny like paragraph. I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. He reads it so eloquently and everyone remembers it. And we were like, yo, this game is different. That's when we first started playing Destiny, when you start the strike up. So rest in peace, Lance Reddick, the legend.
Yeah, he his voice to me is what really stood out the most. It's just the way he captures a role and presents it. I think it's just leagues above many others out there. For me, I come from a different place where I really, obviously many people know I don't watch much TV and movies. So for me, one of my first introductions to him, like I knew who he was, but really it was when I played Quantum Break. I feel like that was a game that played to his strengths, right? Because he was Martin Hatch in that game, right? Yes. So you get to see the game element of it, but you get to see the TV show element of it. And I just thought he was the star in that. Like I really loved how he was in that, and the energy he carried and how I played this kind of evil guy role. Like again, I'm horrible at breaking down TV and movies, but I think it was I love this guy's voice. Like I love his kind of ice cold nature. He can capture that really well, but you can almost tell, like, he's a warm spirit regardless of that. But for me, I think I resonate with that the most because I find Quantum Break to be just like a criminally underrated game in general. And I think he was a big part of that game's success. And the story in that game was just so fun and it was so unique and different. And I wonder if people would embrace that game more now, but I think he was a key piece of that game's success. Like to have not only a television component to your game, which I just thought was unique and different, but then to also have these big name actors and actresses as part of it. I felt like he just really elevated that. So to me, that's a standout gaming memory. And then because that was just one time, it kind of fades, right? And then I remember playing Horizon Zero Dawn and he was Silence in that. And I was like, it's him again. I was like, it's Lance. All right. Like and I'm like, oh yeah, I really love this guy. So I don't have the strong connection like maybe Destiny 2 players have forged. But for me, it comes through a different avenue here and clearly a talented man with much more left to give us in the gaming space and just entertainment at large. So it's, again, gone way too soon. So rest in peace to Lance Reddick and condolences to his family.
Condolences to the family. Last thing I will say is the reason why he is so beloved in the Destiny community also is Destiny community has had a long list of very high profile voice actors and actresses, but he truly loved this game. He played Destiny and he would always interact with the community. To see, one of the things that really stood out to me was when his wife put up the post, she broke her silence after his passing. And she mentioned the Destiny community specifically. She said, I want to let you know he loved this game. And it was touching to see what all the things that the community was doing. So salute to him. Now, it was super dope.
All right, let's talk about the Activision deal now. So a couple of updates here. We'll do them both together. Number one, it's been told that 6 different game studios have told the CMA that the Activision deal would actually improve competition in the gaming space. Meanwhile, the EU has moved back the deadline to give a verdict on the Activision deal to May 22nd of this year, following the need for feedback based on Microsoft's recent agreements, all the 10-year deals from Boosteroid to Ubitus to Nintendo to Nvidia. You're starting to see the effects of it, and we're starting to see things pick up a little bit on this front. So we're seeing a delay now in the EU's decision, so that's going to be bumped back a little bit again till May 22nd. But COG, 6 studios think that the Activision deal would increase competition, and the EU deadlines has been moved back. Any thoughts on this, sir?
I mean, the thoughts for me is just the strategy by Microsoft so far has been sound. You know, the question was, why are they making 10-year deals with, you know, big companies, cloud companies that we really don't know? But it goes to show you, you know, they've got big time lawyers, and it goes to show you that they recognize the nascent market, which I always said, I got to give myself a little credit. I always felt that if you're going to come at this deal, you can come at it from the cloud perspective of them being very strong in the space, and maybe people won't be able to compete in that space. And it looks like it's the right approach because, you know, so far the early indications are that, you know, there's no mention of Sony in these discussions as far as the EU being kind of relieved about and liking what these remedies are. So for them to say that they don't feel it would harm competition without mentioning Sony is very interesting to me, because that to me shows that they value the cloud infrastructure as the long tail in the nascent market, as opposed to, hey, in the console space, Sony, right? So we'll see. The key is going to be the UK. The UK seems to, you know, they definitely have their thoughts and what they may want their specific remedies, you know, may mention Sony in place. And we're going to see. But if this goes through according to what these reports is, this is a huge step in the right direction for Microsoft. And now we'll see if they get the official closure, and then we'll see what happens with the UK.
Yeah, this is definitely that scorched earth approach that we were indicating during last year when talking about this deal, because what Xbox is doing is literally trying to put PlayStation on this island. You're going to see more 10-year deals definitely in these coming weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if one's announced this week. You're going to continue to see them pile up until they put Sony on an island with every single asset around them burnt to the ground, and it's just them and this lone nation. Like, that's what they're trying to do here. And I'm interested if it's going to work here, because if you got everyone from game studios saying it improves competition to companies signing deals saying we back it, we appreciate this, it's going to make us more competitive. Who are you? You know, what is the actual objective here for all these regulatory bodies at a certain point is what they're going to have to ask themselves. Like, are we protecting Sony? Are we protecting the consumer? Are we protecting competition? And so I'm curious if their strategy, theirs being Microsoft's, will pay off. But right now, it looks like it is trending in the right direction. But as we've learned, things can go south real fast with one single article. So we'll not get too ahead of ourselves here. But that's the update right now for what's going on with the Activision deal. All right. Next up, let's talk about ID at Xbox. It's celebrating its 10-year anniversary. For those who don't know, ID at Xbox is Xbox's indie games program, and it has paid out over $4 billion to independent developers and released over 3,000 games in partnerships with developers and publishers. And as of today, there are over 5,000 developers across 100 countries taking part in the ID at Xbox program, and over 3,000 more games are currently in active development. So that program's not going anywhere. They're paying out the big bucks, and that's extremely exciting when you really think about what they're doing over there. It's a great program, and I'm stoked for the future, because right now it feels like they're just clicking on all cylinders. Some of the indie games that have come to Xbox in the last year or two have just been some of the best that we've ever seen from the program. So, Cog, what do you make of all these big numbers here popping out of the little indie program?
Yeah, shout out to Chris Charles. I want to give Xbox their flowers on this. They don't get enough credit. Like, they have truly transformed themselves into, you know, an indie machine. And I remember vividly during the PlayStation 4 start of the generation, I think they were calling like PlayStation the indie station, right? Because they started off so strongly with stuff like Resogun, and, you know, there was so many good games. And at the time, the Xbox One was like, hey, what's going on? And they had these weird rules, fees were higher, all these things in place. Indie developers, you remember, right? Like, indie developers were pushing back. They were like, they called Xbox out. They were like, yo, you know, it's much easier to deal with PlayStation. And that was, you know, a PlayStation trying to get their foot back. And they were really, they had all, PlayStation 4 was really knocking it out on all cylinders, let's be clear. So to see Xbox turn this thing around and have now become the de facto kind of indie spot. You know, it's amazing to see. I mean, we talk about, what is it, Vampire Survivors. You're seeing these major games, you know, Death's Door and Tunic and you know, Somerville and Inside, and the list goes on of these gems. You know what I mean? That continue to come to the platform, and how they continue to work with independent developers, and the relationship is, it almost has now reversed, where now Microsoft is kind of getting the first play on the indies, and they've turned around. So salute to them. You know what I mean? This is a tremendous program, and I want to give them flowers. They've really, really done. I mean, let's be honest. Indies have kind of, last year when they had their worst first party, indies held Xbox down on Game Pass. Like, it was the de facto thing. Like, Game Pass was having a lot of these things. So yeah, salute to them.
Absolutely. You know, I've interacted with the Idea at Xbox program, and it's fantastic. It's responsive, which I think is the most important thing for developers. Just getting feedback, that type of stuff is really fundamental to just knowing where you are at in a particular process. So I just wanted to give a tip of the cap to that as well. I think a lot of people look at the game output, but they don't think about the internal workings of it. And as someone who, again, who's interacted with it, I can only say so much, but like, it has been a good process, and really, you know, just interactive, friendly employees there. It's a well-run part of the company for sure. And you know, it continues to click on all cylinders. And it's funny you bring up the PS4 generation, because you know, to me, one of my favorite stretches of indies was during that PS4 Vita tandem, where they were releasing the indies on PS4, and then you get that cool. Maybe the cross-buy over the Vita.
Yes.
Such a special time that no one talks about. And kind of I'm getting that same feeling with, from me, it's in a very different way, but you'll have them come to Xbox. And then I like to play a lot of my indie games in handheld via xCloud now. So I will fire up my Logitech G Cloud gaming handheld, which, by the way, just so people know, I did a sponsor for it. I had the console for the handheld for 4 months before that, so I don't really think it matters. But point being is, I love that thing, and it's kind of been like my companion to my Xbox, and it reminds me of those days. And just seeing the output, the quality, it's funny you bring up the PS4 gen, because it did remind me of that quite a bit. Defining Duke is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't got to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills. You can go off and play some games instead with that extra time, right? All you need to have is Indeed. The reason I like Indeed is because of its instant match feature. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in a search, according to US Indeed data. So Indeed's going to do the hard work for you. They sponsor a job, and boom, Instant Match shows you the candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description immediately after your post. So Instant Match lets you start hiring fast. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on the hiring process. So visit Indeed.com/Duke to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/Duke, Indeed.com/Duke. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, what do we got next here? Let's talk about the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. So I had reported on our show a couple weeks ago, you know, I went to just test it out as literally a very comfortable, all right, like, let's see what's going on here. This is going to be an easy win for Private Division, for Obsidian, for Virtuos, no doubt about it. It was not that at all. It was extremely broken. It did not perform well across any SKU. So if you're playing on Xbox, PS5, PC, no matter your graphics card, no matter if you had the Series S, the Series X, it did not matter. This game did not run well. Private Division has now announced that they are working on a patch to fix all performance issues across every SKU for the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. Again, this is the version of the game that was supposed to make the game run better and look better and nothing more, nothing less. They added a new level cap in, and it completely broke the game. They write on Twitter, they say, our team is working right now on the next patch, and we're putting a major focus on fixing performance issues across all SKUs, date and more info incoming. And this was after they posted about 2 weeks ago, or I'm sorry, 4 days ago, I should say, an update to Spacer's Choice Edition, which was version 1.1. adjusting to some of the community issues, but the game still, I tested it, runs like ass. So I don't know how this happened. I don't think anyone was really begging for this one. Like, oh, you got to get this out now, Private Division. It seemed like it comes when it comes. It's pretty much free cash. It's a $10 upgrade, a separate SKU with everything put together in a bundle. You'll make your money over time on Steam sales and all that crap. Like, you really didn't need to do too much here, but God damn, did they screw the pooch on it, man. This did not even need to be a news story. It just had to be it's out, by the way, in case you were wondering. But they screwed it up bad. So, Cog, of course, I've sounded off on this in my own individual review and here on the show. Do you have any thoughts on Private Division now working on multiple patches for the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition?
Yeah, this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate because it definitely, sullied what should have been a nice celebratory moment. But I'm also on I'm on the side of the fence where it's like, I didn't even feel, to be honest, it was necessary to make this. Just to be brutally honest, I always felt this was some additive, someone trying to cash out type situation. Yes. And look, I got love for Private Division, but we got to keep it real. Like, they didn't. I remember it vividly when Murder at Eridanos came out. It coincided with a Xbox Series X base FPS boost, base auto HDR. At that moment, it was done. Like the game ran fantastic. There was nothing really. I looked at it, I never said like, oh, man, this looks awful. They really need to, I would love an enhanced edition. Like, yeah. I never said that. I played this game thoroughly. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember when the HDR came out, I'm like, ooh, this thing pops. Ooh, 60. Oh, let's go. So when I saw this announcement, I was like, but I'll try to be level-headed. And then I remember when Addict told me, he was like, bro, it's not a go. I was like, really? Because I was like, oh, you gonna get it? He's like, yeah. And then when you told me, and I was like, oh no. So I just think someone got ahead of themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not blaming Obsidian. I'm sorry. Like,
no, it's not them. They posted on Reddit and they pointed to Private Division for everything. They were like, we're gonna funnel the information to Private Division. Private Division's making the patch. Like, over there, them, not us. Like that type of energy.
Dudes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we gotta keep. And I like Private Division. Great guys, great relationships. But we gotta keep it real. This was just something that, to me, it was unnecessary. And now they have to go do their due diligence and fix whatever happened.
And just for the record, for those wondering who haven't played it, I personally don't even think the game looks better. They have to clean up the visuals too. I don't, because like the Outer Worlds was, for a 3D first person shooter, was a very art driven game. Like the character models weren't trying to evoke a true sense of realism. Like there was almost a shading to them that made them look fictitious. And that was, I think, backed by some of the skyboxes you'd see, like where you see the big plants in the background. It was a very colorful game. Everything's using high vibrancy and saturation, where you could tell, again, it was supposed to evoke this sense of wonder, but it wasn't supposed to be so firmly rooted in reality because of the ridiculousness of the narrative. So for me, when they tried to improve the visuals, I'm like, improve what? It's an art-driven game as far as I'm concerned. So what are you improving? And the only thing I noted was the lighting was a little bit better. But when it came to the character models, oh boy, no. I don't think they look better at all. Like someone go look at Reed Thompson in the original versus the remaster. Nah, like I don't know what they were doing there. So yeah, that's what's going on with the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. Hopefully we'll have good news on that soon. But for now, we turn our attention to Netflix, where we already know they're working on a Gears of War anime. We know they're also working on a movie, and apparently we have a writer for the script. If the Gears of War Twitter account is to be believed, it will be written by, I apologize if I get the last name wrong, because again, highlighting what I was talking about with Lance Reddick, me not knowing much about TV and movies, Jon Spaihts, the co-writer of Dune and Doctor Strange, will be handling the movie script here for Netflix's Gears of War. Sir, how are we feeling about this one?
Interesting. They've got
a Marvel writer.
Yeah, Marvel writer. We'll see. Netflix. Netflix don't get behind a lot of stuff. Unless I'm assuming that the quality level's there. My main concern is just like, obviously looking at The Last of Us currently, right? Obviously looking at Halo's, the TV show and stuff like that. Gears is important, man. Gears is important. And my main concern is respect the source material, respect it. I would hope, and maybe if Cliffy's not directly involved, we keep the spirit of the first, 3 games and truly get to that. He told us on IOP, because I always felt like the first couple of Gears games, I had a slight horror vibe, right? Mm-hmm. And he mentioned that. He was like, I'm glad you mentioned that, guy. He was like, yeah, that was some of the stuff we were going for, things like the Krill and things like the Berserker, the Unstoppable. And, it was just certain moments that I remember being, I'm a little nervous. I'm saying? I got to see, I missed that feeling. So I want them to capture the spirit, because it's not just dude bro shoot 'em chainsaw game. It is there's some feels here, so I hope they do it right. So that's my main thing. Hopefully this is a good representation. This is one of their most important IP. Some people even have it higher than Halo. Some people I know they got into the Xbox ecosystem strictly because of Gears of War. Shout out to my homegirl, Eric Cutts, for the win. She's one of them. She's a hardcore Gears. It's hardcore. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm pulling for them.
I'm just happy they're investing in it. After Gears 5, I don't know why, because, we just have to have a little patience, but it feels like it's been so long. And I feel like it's going to be a very long time before we do see what's going on with Gears 6, because we know, based off reports, that the Coalition had some canceled games and they were looking to diversify and do something different before Gears 6. And we know they're working with Unreal Engine 5, so I imagine learning some of that will take a little bit of time. Obviously, it seems to coincide with knowledge that you gain from Unreal Engine 4, but there's going to be some new bells and whistles. So I get the feeling it's going to be a little bit before we see Gears 6 in a capacity of release. So these types of things will be nice buffers, and I think the best buffer of them all will definitely be some type of Master Chief Collection, Marcus Phoenix Collection for the Gears franchise. But I have to say I'm keen to learn what they're going to do with the movie. That one I'm less excited for, not even because of personal taste. I'm more excited for the anime because I almost feel that fits more, because I feel like that's going to get a lot of the gore involved. And
yes,
maybe I'm just a little bit burned by Halo and how they, not in the terms of did they capture it well, but there's a level of attention to detail that I feel like art captures versus live action. And since Gears was always so known for, granted, it had exaggerated proportions, like small head, huge body, huge biceps. To me, there was a sense of realism in that world. There was a sense of, I didn't have to suspend my belief. I could invest in it. So I'm curious how a movie's going to do that, because I already had bought into its world. That's me personally, though. But I'm excited to learn more about this. And of course, as we get more information, we'll talk about it here on the show. And when the movie drops, I'm sure you'll have a nice DDU on that. So that'll be a fun time.
For sure.
Next up, Venba, a narrative cooking game, is coming day one to Game Pass this summer. It was confirmed at GDC 2023. So we can look to, I'm sorry, it wasn't they're going to GDC 2023. I mistook their Twitter name here, but they announced that it's coming to consoles and it will be a day one Game Pass game. And the game looks solid. So I'm pretty interested in this one. No exact release date, just again, summer 2023.
All right. Salute.
So that's what's going on with Venba. This one's a fun update, and OG Duke listeners may recall when we had to try to look up the Hyperkin Duke controller, and Cog got his hands on one, Ryan McCaffrey got his hands on one, and I got the shameful Duke treatment as not only did I not have my Duke, but the one I tried to save a couple of bucks on eBay for never came my way. So I have to make sure I put my order in on that, but I'm going to pre-order this one here because Hyperkin is making a nice Xbox 360 controller replica, the Xenon, which will be available June 6, 2023 for $49.99 US. So this is, again, if you like that OG 360 controller that it launched with, you can get that for your series consoles thanks to Hyperkin, who did a great replica of the original Duke controller. Yes. So for you Xbox fanatics, you controller collectors out there, that one's for you.
Yes, big time.
You picking it up?
I might not, because I feel like I got so many Duke replicas now. I got so many. I gotta see, but then again, I get tempted usually as it gets closer. So it's like for now, I'm trying to hold.
Okay, Cog. You're gonna hold? Okay.
I'm trying to hold. We'll see as we get closer. More than likely, the temptation.
Yes.
I
just gotta send you one link and it's all over.
It's like
you
send me one link. Same thing you did. I thought I was gonna hold on the Halo hoodie / shirt combo, and then I was like, nah, I'm doing it. So I'm talking tough right now, but I know I'm a fool. Once it happens, it always does.
Well, that's what's going on with Hyperkin. Let's talk a bit more about games and less about hardware. Crash Team Rumble, an upcoming Crash Party game, is retailing for $30. It's been confirmed it will be dropping on my birthday, June 20th this year. Happy birthday to me. Yeah, that'll be a good time.
Nice.
Sean Mason writes in, greetings, Dukes. With the announcement of Crash Team Rumble getting a June 20th release, I can't help but think Activision does not expect this game to do well. It is sure to get buried, releasing within a few weeks of both Diablo and Final Fantasy, not to mention a $29.99 price tag for a game that looks much more like a free-to-play game. I need to know, why is Activision doing our favorite Bandicoot wrong? Can't wait to see you both at PAX East. Best, Sean M. Cog. Your thoughts on Crash Bandicoot coming back on my big day?
Yeah,
spoiling the party, maybe.
It's not good. Listen, happy born day to you. That's a nice gift. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bandicoot. Look, it is an interesting decision, but they probably look at like, okay, they lining up the release dates. There's a lot of minefields you got to try to avoid. We know about the big two that we mentioned. So, a game like that, I don't know if I shout out to Sean. I don't know if they're doing them dirty. I just think it's one of them type of years, to be honest. It's this year, and it's still a lot of uncertainty on certain release dates. So you kind of rolling the dice on when you put something out right now. So yeah, I'm not gonna go too hard on them on this one. But I'm curious, but you think like they should have not for you. I mean, it's your birthday, so you good. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just like, if it wasn't, do you think based on placement that was a bad decision? Otherwise, objectively.
No, I don't think so. I think when you look at Final Fantasy, this big budget AAA RPG, we'll call it, not JRPG, and then you've got on the other end of the spectrum an action RPG. They're two big games, but I think Crash Team Rumble finds itself in a cheaper pocket where we've seen how well Crash can perform on the market. We saw with the Insane trilogy, it sold over 10 million copies. So I think, if anything, it's not a move of fear in burying the game, Sean. I personally believe it's actually a move of confidence. Like, I personally believe that Crash Team Rumble, they're like, well, this is going to do just fine here. Like, it's a cheaper game in the middle of very expensive games. It's going to be a busy month regardless. And we're going to actually get into this a bit in one of our write-ins with Redfall releasing in a pack of highly anticipated titles. I think a lot of these companies are recognizing, let's say they delay their game. Like, we could try to find a pocket, but someone else may pop up. And then what? Are we going to delay it again? There's no problems with the game. Eventually, we're just holding on to something that's ready to ship. And we're not Nintendo, who can apparently do that. So I think with Crash Team Rumble, it strikes me more as a sign of confidence. And I think it will do well, personally. We'll see if I'm wrong on that. But nonetheless, coming out on my birthday, June 20th.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got Tchia, the PlayStation exclusive game that dropped as a part of PS Plus. You may have seen that in the latest state of play. And it looks like it actually may be coming to Xbox, as the developer wrote on their Twitter account. We're very much focusing on PlayStation and Epic Game Store at launch, but are excited to make the game as accessible as possible in the long run. So stay tuned. So that's not necessarily guaranteeing anything, but it's saying that they are at least looking into bringing it to Xbox at some point in time. For those who don't know what Tchia is, it's that tropical open world, Breath of the Wild style game. So again, exclusive to PlayStation and Epic Game Store right now. If you're interested in it, you can go ahead and if you have PS Plus, download it as part of your subscription.
Yeah, look, very, very charming art style.
Yeah.
Definitely like what I saw from it.
This one caught me off guard. Apparently it was rumored. I must have missed it, or I probably saw it and didn't believe it because it sounds ridiculous. Lego 2K Drive is real, and it is premiering March 23rd. So by the time our listeners on Patreon are checking this out, as well as free feed listeners are hearing this, this will have already premiered. So we'll talk about it a bit more next week, but they did drop a little bit of a teaser. It looks very charming, but yeah, 2K is involved in a Lego racing game, and there's a lot of potential here, man. I'm still waiting for someone to take the crown for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm really, really waiting on it. I don't know if it'll happen, but I worry with 2K's involvement, the microtransaction beast might show up and say, you got to pay for all these little Lego bits. It's perfect for monetization. So it scares me a little bit. But Cog, your thoughts on this very obscure racing game?
Yeah, leaks and leaking, boys. They outside with this one. They showed everything. I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't see this one coming. Not really my wheelhouse, but it's one of those things that I am curious to see how they handle.
Oh my gosh, all these puns, sir. Calm down. Wheelhouse, handling. Okay, keep going.
You know what I'm saying? I see how they handle this stuff, man, because they have a reputation sometimes, 2K games. As much as we love them, we got to see how they handle this part. But yeah, I was shocked to see this one getting out because this was like major leak. I was like, damn, this is all over.
Yeah, I with Lego 2K Drive, it reminded me of in my N64 collection, I have Lego Racers, and I think that's the only Lego game that comes to mind for me that is solely based around racing. So I'm just very curious what they're doing with this one, and 2K being the partner is also the very interesting component to this. You think it'd be a WB game because that just seems to be where the Lego games have come from, but this will be a very interesting partnership, and we'll have more to say when we check it out next week. But just know it's real, and if you want to look more into it, that information will be available by the time you're listening. I like this news here because I thought it'd be much longer. Dead Island 2 is going to be roughly 20 hours long. It's coming out in April, so we don't have to wait too much longer now. They got out of the way of Jedi Survivor and not sharing the date anymore. But again, 20 hours long, and I'm liking where we're trending, Cog. We're starting to step away from bloat, and we're seeing these big open world games. Like if I could compliment something about Forspoken, I would say that it was nice that it was a little 12-hour story for me. It's just quick, in and out if I wanted it to be. There was more content if I wanted it. I obviously didn't, but it looks like it's the same thing here with Dead Island 2. About 20 hours, definitely digestible, but then there's probably more to do beyond that. We never got to talk much about the gameplay reveal, but how do you feel about the length of the game and what you've seen of it so far?
Yeah, actually, I think we talked briefly about it, and it was kind of like just very briefly though. It was kind of like based on, from my understanding, like the studio behind the scenes stuff that was going on and how the development process was going. It was kind of like amazing to see the game look still solid and decent because it went through a lot behind the scenes.
Yes, sir.
So I love that 15 to 20 hour pocket. Sometimes I feel like that sometimes games just overstay their welcome, in my opinion, and I feel like sometimes we got to get back to that as opposed to what you said, like the bloat and everything is 100 plus hours open world kind of game and wants to steal your soul and what I'm saying, like I miss sometimes that real concise type of experience within that time frame. So yeah, I'm pulling for them. Heads up, they're gonna be at PAX East. So it's like no. So expect some coverage. You know what I'm saying? For Lord's Game and that the team. So yeah, we got something scheduled with them. I'm going to check them out, see what's going on.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I thought that the way they focused on weapons in their recent gameplay trailer left me pretty encouraged, where they understood where their strengths lie. Obviously, Dying Light has the mobility. I've noticed Dying Light has lost some favor with the community as of late, because of its kind of buggy launch, which I get. Like I in my review, I said it's an incredible game when it works. Because when it works, I thought the story was way better than Dying Light 1. The parkour speaks for itself. The combat was great. Like the choice and consequence was great. Everything about it I really liked, but a lot of people seem to have soured on Dying Light from what I've seen. So there's a lot of anticipation for this one. And I'm very keen to see if they can deliver after all of this time, all of this waiting, because what we did see looked really good. I mean, I tried to play with a couple of buddies a few months ago, I think, Dead Island Riptide. We're just like, all right, let's just download it, let's play it together, because we'd all played Dead Island 1 a ton of times. And I gotta say, man, I used the rare Steam refund because I had played Riptide back when it came out. I loved it. I was like, oh, more Dead Island. But when you, I think, get that taste of Dying Light and then you go back to the old Dead Island, and I say that as someone who's played Dead Island 1 probably 4 times. I love that game. It's still tough to go back to, though. It's a product of its time for sure. So I'm curious to see how they have evolved the formula, how they've made it accessible. So I'm excited to see what they do. But again, about 20 hours long for the main story, which is pretty nice to see. But what's not 20 hours long and what you have to spend copious amounts of hours with is Midnight Suns. And looks like COG is not letting you go as Morbius is out today. And we're seeing lots of write-ins as you continue to champion this game. More and more people are like, yo, COG, I'm playing it. It's great. We had at least like 5 write-ins like that over on our Patreon. And more content is on the way. So, sir, what are you going to do? Is this going to be a part of the train ride to PAX?
You read my mind, bro. I was literally, part of my prep is, get packing. And then I'm like, all right, grab little man up the Series S. It's time. We traveling. Okay, so, hard drive space. Actually, I do got the expansion card, but usually I'm like, okay, I usually try to pick a pocket of 5 to 6 games that I know I'm going to rotate back with the trip. So I'm like, wait a minute. Midnight Suns is not installed on the little man yet. I played so much on the X, and actually on the Steam Deck. I was like, I haven't brought it. So let me correct that. And then lo and behold, here comes that Morbius. I'm like, oh man. So yeah, this is definitely on the ride. I cannot wait because obviously it character dropped just today, and it just feels perfect for that universe. What they're trying to accomplish with this dark, vampire. Even they have just like the whole Lilith storyline. Everything is kind of the underbelly characters of the MCU, which I kind of like. And yeah, he's a perfect fit. So I will be diving in.
Nice. Speaking of which, COG, you probably got more thoughts on this, and as do I. Jake Solomon says he probably won't make another turn-based strategy game again. For those who don't know, this is the man behind XCOM, really brought it to new heights, brought COG, the XCOM lover, to us. But he's saying, man, after his time with Midnight Suns and all those XCOM games, he's probably not making another turn-based strategy game again. So I have thoughts, but sir, this is your time to mourn. How do you feel?
I'm going to kind of relax for a second because I want to jump out the window on this badly.
Okay.
Because, I like you said, you set me up perfectly. Like, this is the person who really got me into turn-based. Like, he really showed that turn-based is much deeper, is more complex. He also introduced me to the strategy layer of turn-based, which is everything not just on the battlefield, off the battlefield. Okay, how are we strategizing? And then what do we do to manipulate things that can affect the world? So when I hear him say, my next game most likely is not going to be a turn, it stings, but I gotta be realistic for someone who's been doing it for over let's say 20 plus years or whatever his tenure is in the game. And creatively, as we've interviewed a lot of developers and have people on, we had Jason Rubin on. This is a theme that I hear. I had Jason Rubin on creative Crash Bandicoot on ILP. We've had Cliffy on. We've had people who've made iconic franchises, and then there's a shift sometimes, right? And you like, as a gamer, you go, why? Like, yo, but you messed up. You should have stayed doing da-da-da. But to tell someone to do the same thing for so long, right? Creatively, you can get burnt out. And I think probably that's what's going on here. You know what I mean? Now, selfishly, I'm like, bro, if they give you a nice bag, like, we ain't gonna make the next one. You know what I'm saying? So I think that also, financially, this looks like he's trying to drum up support, try to do like a simulation game kind of thing. I'm gonna support the man and what he do. You know what I'm saying? What I'm hoping for, what generally can happen is just like me and you. We just had Sawyer on, right? We had Josh Sawyer on, creative director of Pentiment. And don't get me wrong, Pentiment ended up becoming this nice surprise. But I remember when I first saw Pentiment, and I was like, man, I don't know I was expecting #JustOneEnergy, and then this is what the hell is going on, bro? Like, I was in my feels because remember what he said to us. Hey, man, I've been doing those, Vegas type games. People know me for this, but I needed a palate cleanse. I needed a break between the next one. And, most likely the next one. Looking at you, New Vegas. Looking at you, Vegas 2, or somebody on Obsidian and Bethesda get together and get Josh Sawyer to lead a big project. But I think that's what this is. You know what I mean? And, I'm pulling for the best. I hope he doesn't get out of turn-based completely, but We'll see. I gotta respect it. If he does, he's one of the GOATs. I told people the hip hop analogy is if my man Jillian Gallup is Rakim, who kind of started it with XCOM. My man Jake Solomon is Nas, who took it to the next level, and that's how highly revered I have those two, because Jake Solomon's that guy to me. So yeah, I'm curious your thoughts here, because this one hit the gut hard.
Yeah,
but trying to recover right now.
Yeah, I get it. For me, I would put it more in, I wouldn't call it panic mode, but I hypothesize that these strategy games don't make as much money as these budgets they put behind them should be justified. Like the amount of investment they put into them, it's not being justified. And I think the only series that is able to stay above water and do this right now that comes to mind for me is Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem seems to be the only one that has the public craze and is a strategy game that I can think of. But XCOM and its much more hardcore nature, and even, I think Midnight Suns speaks to this. Hey, you have the right license, you have the IP support, you have the characters, the post-launch support. And from what 2K suggested, it still struggled out the gate. And they have their reasons, right? It's clearly not the quality of the game. If anything, COG and our listeners have written in is anything to say about it. But I personally believe that it's just a sign that this style of game is not vibing with people and it's not selling, unfortunately. And I say as someone who likes a strategy game from time to time, but turn-based is doing well. Turn-based is still popular. You look at a series like Octopath Traveler doing well. You look at Persona doing well, and so on and so forth. So I just think strategy to me is the key component of this, where he could go do something turn-based. He just might not go do strategy. But, what you mentioned with Josh Sawyer is perfect, because it is, I think, exactly that. You give so much of yourself to one thing for so long. I'll use myself as an example. I did modern gaming for so long, and then I wanted to go do something retro, and I made Retro Rebound. But that was after 10 to 12 years where I was like, man, I want to do something different. But I didn't want to stop this other thing. I was like, I want to do something different though, right? It's just human nature taking its course. So it shows to all of us, when a Midnight Suns comes around, enjoy it, support it, back it, right? Which our audience has been very vocal about. COG has been very vocal about. But I'm saying more broadly, this is why we always emphasize loving the things you love and making sure it's heard, because this type of stuff seems to be happening more and more. We're going to talk about separately, but somewhat in correlation, EA delisting some games, and they're not afraid to turn the lights off on any of these projects, whether they existed at one point or they exist now, or they could stop existing now. I mean, it's just exactly where we're heading. So it's, again, a good reminder that we need to love on those games that need some love, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Sonic Frontiers is up next, and we got ourselves a nice little update for this one. They're adding a photo mode, a challenge mode, which is going to have like time attack for stages. It's going to have a boss rush mode. They're adding a jukebox, which is going to come with like 13 new songs that you can listen to right away from all these different Sonic games. Like Live and Learn is there from Adventure 2. But then you can also collect sound memories on each of the islands and gradually build up that jukebox and listen to all these tracks wherever. RK128 writes in, hello, undefeatable Maddie and Chaos Control COG. The Blue Blur is getting a large update to his latest adventure this Wednesday, having boss rush challenge modes for cyberspace levels and even music to collect in the open zones. Any thoughts on this update, and did you give the game a chance yet, COG? It may be messy, but it's genuinely a fun time. Have a little Timmy keeps dying on us, kind of gay. Man, you guys are creating some messiness.
I don't know if you caught that one. It was ridiculously messy, the Little Timmy saga.
Yeah.
But no, I gotta get down with the Blue Bird, man. I've been putting them off. I gotta get to them, man. Look, I like stuff like this, because especially this reminds me of I think Namco did this with Tekken 7, where the PlayStation version had this jukebox kind of feature. And it was really cool. They had all the nostalgic soundtracks and things you can pick and organize how you want it on every stage, from as far back as arcade Tekken 1. Every Tekken track was like Sony played a beautiful exclusive thing for this. I love it. I was a little bad. I was like, damn, the Xbox version don't got that. I was a little about feelings, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, you know what? I buy Tekken everywhere, so it ain't matter. I was like, I'm over here, so I was playing it. You know what I'm saying? I'll play that play because, bro, that is such a cool feature. So to see Sonic do something like this, that means you're respecting the history. You know what I'm saying? I need to hear my original Genesis joints. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I need to hear the classic joints. You know what I'm saying? Sonic 1 and 2, they got some amazing soundtrack and beats, and even the recent ones. So this is cool. Fan service, feels nostalgia. Spreading your own legend within your game is dope to me.
Yeah. Again, it just supports the thing that they said earlier, which is that Sonic Frontiers did way better than they expected, and the support's showing that. They're going to bring in expansion with new playable characters, new modes. So the support isn't done here. This is just a new free update in the meantime, and it's a sizable one. So I personally, RK, am going to be holding off until that new expansion drops. There's no need for me to rush in, right? Like the Blue Blur. I don't got to go fast for this one. Let's wait till the expansion drops, because what I'm hoping for, because they said new playable characters, give me my man Shadow. That's my favorite character. Give me Shadow.
Okay.
I don't think they will. I think they'll probably make like Amy or Tails playable, but I'm curious what they're going to do. I'm very invested in this long-term support they're giving Sonic Frontiers, because again, it was like a surprisingly good game. It cracked my top 10 last year. Like I thought it was a really good time. It was flawed for sure, but it was a really fun time, and their continued support of it is encouraging. And I'm curious to see how they evolve the formula, if at all. It seems like they're leaning more into the collectathon nature, which I said I was fine with. I kind of liked that, because it was, Sonic at its most popular with adventure was this, you'd run around these big 3D hubs and you'd get like the chows and whatnot. You'd find these secrets. And I like that they're going back to that design philosophy, because I think that's when Sonic was at its best from my personal perspective. But again, we will see. I just hope they invest in new assets and we don't have to see the same shit from Forces again. But that's a conversation for another day. Cog, let's talk about what games we are playing. Now, we're sharing one here and we have a write-in about it. But is there anything else you'd like to highlight, sir, before we dive in?
Well, before the shared one?
Yeah, before the shared one.
Yeah, so kind of what I alluded to, which is, as much as I step away, they pull me right back on in. And Midnight Suns is the gift that keeps on. First of all, shout out to the entire Twitter community. Because, Addict put me on to something. He said, bro, 2K got to owe you a check. He's like, you have single-handedly, brought awareness to this game. He said, every time I check your timeline, someone's talking about, thank you. I picked it up and I'm loving it. And it's like we started a movement. And I'm so happy, bro. You don't understand. I got emotional because I'm such a turn-based guy. And when something is excellent and no one's wearing my Maddie flannel, that was my flannel. Turn-based, Jake Solomon, Firaxis. Bro, these are the games. Try them. These are the ones that got me to get into it. And to see so many people hit, people I don't even know, Cog. And now to the point, anything new happened, I get the news before, dudes that hit me bro, the Morbius is out. I'm like, the Morbius is out? Okay, all right, let me get, so salute to them. I can't wait. Morbius was on the list. This was one, I remember when the first announcement happened, I was like, I gotta see, because he's not a really popular character. Obviously, we got the I believe the Netflix special, whatever. But so I see the tie-in. But as I saw the trailer, I'm like, no, it fits. The legendary hunter fighting against, the dark, his dark mother versions, and then his vampires, his demons. There's a darkness to the game. Morbius fits in that pocket. Nice. So yeah, I like it. So he's on the list. I know Storm, I believe. I can't wait. I want to know what they do with Storm. That is very interesting. Yeah. I know Storm is coming. I believe that was the last of this batch. But I'm also curious, as the DLC finishes and all the characters come out, if they do kind of like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance where there's a second row, if they get a resurgence. I know I'm asking a lot because the game financially, I know. But if they do that, or Game Pass, man, this is the time. Who I got to call? I would have saved this game. Who I got to call?
I feel like it's a matter of time.
Yeah, because 2K, you play nice with Game Pass on the back end. After you get your front end money, you reduce the cost of the game on all platforms. People are getting in. You give it a trial. What you need to do is give that Ultimate Edition, right? All the characters. Maybe you do one last little bonus character, a couple little features, and say, boom, Game Pass, you get, I'm telling y'all, this is something people going to try and they're going to love it. Everybody that tries to love it. So I would hope that that's the case. And then, so Midnight Suns, I'm going to be doing that on my train ride in the morning. And I got my series that's ready to go. I'm going to do my Morbius DLC. I am super hyped. So salute to Firaxis and the crew and Jake Solomon. No doubt.
I think when it comes to Midnight Suns, because again, I think Game Pass had inevitability. It's just a really matter of when. So if I were to say when, I would want to point at post Ultimate Edition and really to get that in mind. It's like, okay, are they going to do more support after Storm, or do you think it's over?
I think there's a look. I get it.
It's bite size, right? So that's why I'm wondering if they can just keep going.
I think they can. Because historically, one thing about Firaxis, they are known for like the War of the Chosen DLC. XCOM 2 had a whole new, usually they have a ramp up. And I'm very curious if, let's just say Midnight Suns was successful. You can't tell me that Firaxis wouldn't have another edition with a next round of characters or a big update, an expansive story. Mm-hmm. They are known for keep adding on to their games. XCOM 2 had a whole separate thing and so many DLCs. They're known for it. So I wouldn't be surprised. There's still a chance, but again, if the financial numbers was with the financial number, maybe that whole change. So I'm just, projecting. So we'll see.
Now, Cog, we talk about the game that we shared here. Just for the record, because I have it written down, I'm still playing Octopath Traveler 2. I haven't put a lot of time into games this week because I've just been up to my ears in work for my game and then making sure my video work is good and taken care of. But there was one thing that we both played this weekend, Cog, and One Tick Hole writes in, "Hey, Dukes, got to ask if either of you had a chance to partake in the Diablo 4 early beta and what your thoughts are. Personally, aside from the lag issues and server crashes, this game felt amazing. You would assume the server issues will be addressed by launch, so I think it's safe to say Diablo is a surefire banger. Kind of convenient that Starfield happened to coincidentally be delayed past that suspected June release date, right? So, Cog, you and I have both been playing this beta. This is a big one for sure. It's coming out June 6th, and we got a nice chunk of the game served to us. You could get up to level 25. You could play as one of 3 classes. You could do the veteran mode. You got a good taste of the open world. Just really a sliver of content when you look at the overall product. And I got to say, man, I was really impressed. I was very into what they were doing here. Because, I think you and I are going to be on the same wavelength here. So I'm going to dish it to you right away. But presentation, man. When they started that narrative up, and they started to bring the camera in and do cutscenes. And it wasn't just this fixed perspective, which wasn't a problem. I wasn't playing Diablo for the story. But when you get Lilith involved, you see the transitions, like that moment, Cog, with the priest in the church and Lilith's introduction. That was the moment I went, what the hell? I was like, I'm into this. And so I just avoided the main story after that. Once I got to the open world section, I was like, I'm not touching that. I was into what they were doing there. So I want to dish it to you because I thought of you right away. I was like, I could see Cog as he was really getting into that story focus. We saw it in the game. How'd you feel about that and everything else you played?
Man, let me tell you this. I knew Diablo 4, I was going to like it, right? I knew that. I love Diablo 2, but I got to be honest with Diablo fans and maybe this is for Diablo 3 fans, because I came in late, right? People tell me Diablo 2, that's the one, right? But 3, I love...
I don't agree with that.
Talk to me. What's the... Tell me
no, I don't think it's a bad game. Just like, I tried playing it. I started with Diablo 3, then went back to 2, and I was like, no. No. I'm okay. I respect the OG. I'm not saying your game is bad. Yeah, I respect the take. For me, after playing Diablo 3, I like the fluidity. I love the flow of Diablo. I'll get into my thoughts more, but to me, I did not get into that flow with Diablo 2 at all.
Fair enough. I'm a 3 guy. I'm late to the series, but I love 3. Now, I got to be honest, though, about 3. Much as I love it, it's great. The loot, everything, the whole gameplay loop. I'm going to sit here. I can't even tell you what the hell is going on with this story in 3. I don't know what the hell. I don't care. I'm just like, who we killing next? What we got? Ooh, new boots. Ooh, new thing that synergizes with this power. That's me. Yeah. It feeds my OCD on loot. Now let's move to this game. First thing off the bat, this game is oozing atmosphere. it's brooding, it's dark, but the cold worlds feel cold. You always have that kind of devilish nature in Diablo games and expect it. But this, like you said, started to care about a narrative. They even got me before that church scene. You know when they got me, man? They was like, "Oh, please, kind sir, can you please clear out the dungeon and da da da." Oh, yeah, sure.
I didn't expect that. I didn't expect where they were going to go with that.
You go back and they like, "Yeah, let's celebrate." And it pop off and they drunk you up and it gets dark. I'm like, oh, my man going out like this it was so dark. I was like, yo, I love this.
I love how they took their time with that. Like when they put you on the wagon, just wheeled you out. It was like, I was thinking, oh, it's going to fade to black. And they just follow it the whole time. Bro,
and your man got the tools. He about to cut you up.
He's humming as he's getting ready.
Yeah. And then you see all the sad travelers who were strung up, who got felt for this hustle that this town has been doing. Like, it is evil stuff. And I was like, I love this.
I was very impressed by the narrative. Like, at least early impressions were strong. I thought, damn, that was really good.
And you know why it hit me even hard? I took my time. I was like, bro, this is outstanding voice acting. What's that main character? I mean, the character that you meet, not the one that saves you. There's another character that you meet when you go to the first town.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. His voice did stand out to me.
His powerful. I'm like, bro, I'm listening to everything you talk about. Like, I just like the villagers, the accents. I feel like a part of an old, system and old town vibe. It was dope. Like, so that's off the rip. I went because I think it's 3 playable characters. I believe. They didn't let me touch the summoner. And they didn't let me touch the druid, I believe. But the barbarian. So I went sorcerer. I was like, I never do sorcerer.
Me and you both, huh? Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I did the electric whip joint as like.
No way. We picked the same basic attack too.
Yo, this is why the Dukes is on the same bed. What you pick for your long range? What you pick for your long range? Because I picked that for my short range. If they get up on me.
I picked the ice one that with the spiral. No way.
This is why you my brother. This is why Yo, we picked the same joint, the same character. Because I said to myself,
did you play as a male or a female though?
I did go male. Were you a female?
I went female.
All right, cool. So we still
we had some differentiation there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, bro. It would, because I said, you know what? If they try to rush me, I need my freeze arrows. And I was looking at the stat. Okay, I'm gonna make a freeze build.
Yeah,
and I gotta bend the knee to Maddie. So I'm not gonna say what, but what context, because it's gonna spoil something. But I do now have an appreciation for the deep skill tree. Let's just say that. And I'm playing this and I'm seeing the paths and the adjustments you can go. And I'm like, I am going to be build crafting for hours. I'm going to love something like this. So yeah, it was great. It's dark. It gave me Legacy of Kain Blood Omen vibes, which is one of my favorite Henning games. I think it's going to be fantastic. Obviously, there was some server issues the first day. I luckily dodged a bullet. I jumped on like maybe late Friday night, jumped in and played Saturday. I actually didn't have too many problems. I didn't get a chance.
Like a long queue. I had to wait 2 hours to get in, so I just stepped off and did something.
I guess my Destiny sensibilities do not to leave on day one. Like, I don't usually mess with that first way. I usually go late on the night or the next day.
Saturday. It was Friday.
It was Friday.
You had
it on Saturday?
No, it was Friday evening. Okay. Sorry, no, it was Friday evening.
My Saturday experience was smooth. Now, I did have one issue where I did get kicked completely, right? And I got an elephant in the room. Okay. So I'm playing single player.
Uh-huh.
And I realized, my Uber Eats is here. Let me pause.
Nope.
Why my man getting lashed? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, this is online, always online in a single player version of Diablo, bro. I'm not even playing with nobody.
It does say on the box requires internet.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Because I
get it. Yeah.
I get it. You know what I mean? But it's just like, So, that was that. And then trying to think. And another pick. The map is closer up, which you get more detail and stuff like that. But I feel like the mini map, and it needs to be scaled out. I don't feel like the mini map helps. Sometimes I'm trying to find like an objective, and I hate that I have to press the big map and then see. Again, minor nitpicks. this game gonna be amazing. Like I'm so glad Starfield's not in June. Oh, I'm so glad.
I am too.
Starfield, please. Thank you, because Diablo, it started again. And the little nuances, like any piece of gear you put on, you see the visual change, and you see. I could talk about this. Diablo is one of my favorites, and I'm going to love this game. I'm curious about your experience.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat where I was very impressed by the beta. I always point at Diablo as a mastery of game flow. Everything's just snappy. The combat, the approach enemies take to you, the way you equip new loot, the way you get missions, everything about it is snappy. And I feel like Diablo 4 only solidifies that more. The way the menus are overlaid, there's none of that Destiny UI. It's just you're always seeing your character right, and they're always keeping the game active. And so you're just putting on loot. It's streaming from one mission to the next, and they don't wait too long. Like Diablo 3, they'll throw you 2-3 enemies, but this game, within the first hour, they're like, hey, here they come, and I love when Diablo does that, because that's when the power fantasy sets in. And yes, the skill tree is massive. The skill tree is diverse. While Cog and I did not have differentiating builds, I saw lots of other tantalizing options for sure. I managed to pull out a firebolt. I got to teleporting attack that turned me into a bolt of electricity and maybe reappear somewhere else. And there was like a lightning explosion. So it gave me a little bit of mobility when I used up my dodge. So that was pretty cool.
Wait, it was tied to the dodge?
No, there was a dodge button. And then there was a ability that would also be a dodge where you turn
okay, got it. And I like the dodge button too.
Yeah, exactly. So you would have like double mobility if you were to invest in that skill, but you don't have to do that, right? And that's like the benefit of this game. So from even the storefronts to getting missions, everything in Diablo 4 was snappy. And I just love that I stayed in that flow, because for me, it's a game all about forward momentum. And as long as I am continuously making steps forward, then I am having a good time. And that's what Diablo 4 enabled me to do. I actually liked the shared world stuff. I'm usually not a, always online kind of guy. And I would certainly like to have a preserved single player mode. I don't think that this shouldn't be a thing. Let it be known. I don't think it shouldn't be a thing, but their vision did work for me. I really liked when I went out into the open world and I found an event and I'm fighting away, and then suddenly a big berserker pulls up and another rogue pulls up and we just start fighting together. It's very MMO-like, but because of the way the camera's fixed, it's almost this, you see someone fly in on your screen. Who's that? Right? And I just love that type of stuff. I think the way they broke up the common Diablo activities, like mini dungeons and big dungeons, into an open world without making it feel bloated was good. Like I found a couple of dungeons and I did them, and they were palatable. They were like, I didn't feel overwhelmed. And the flow was great in those dungeons too, because they didn't have 1,000,001 load screens like they usually do in the Diablo dungeons. Like, oh, you're going floor 1 to 2, so load screen. It's just one continuous dungeon until you exit the building.
Yes.
And so I like all that. I don't know if this game has the layer map, I like to call it. I don't know what they overlay the map on your screen where you can take up more room on your screen. I didn't check for that because I didn't find myself needing it. The only time I wanted it was when I was in the dungeon, and they turn the dungeons into quests. So when you join there, they say, get to rooms A and B and kill this person. I'm thinking, okay, I don't know where that is. It's a very waypoint driven game, and that's fine because it's a fixed camera top down. You can't rotate and look around. So you need that map. But it's weird because when you go in the dungeons, it doesn't use map markers at all. The only map marker is your current set quest. So I found myself sometimes following the wrong markers, getting lost, going backwards. And I do hope if they're going to make any changes once they approach that launch, I do hope that's one of them, that they add markers to the dungeon, because the first time it happened, I went, oh, that's on me. I probably just wasn't paying attention, even though I thought it was. Then I got twisted around again. I said, okay, that's I'm 2 for 2 now of getting twisted around and going the wrong way. You need to guide me a little bit here, I think. And that's just by nature. The rest of the game does that. I'm not asking for every open world game to make me chase waypoints, but this one needs it because I can't lower the camera and look around to see intimately where I'm at. It's constantly fixed, which is what Diablo is. But yeah, the flow is great. Any complaints I have are minimal. I didn't have any server issues. I didn't get booted or anything, but I didn't grind this. I played for about 2-3 hours, and I said, I'm done. Like
Yeah.
I just know that it's
Same.
going to be a good time.
Same.
I'm sold. And all I'm doing is ruining the game for myself. I don't need to hit
Yep.
25 to see how good
Yep.
this is. I got to 15, I think, and I went,
Oh, we got did the same thing.
yeah, I got to 15. I went,
I'm
yeah,
good.
like I'm done. I'm done.
Same thing.
I don't need to do this. If you guys drop another beta and you with the necromancer summoner, I forgot which the class is, and the druid, I'll come back around because I want to see what the new stuff does, right? But for what's there right now, I'm sold, man. It looks amazing. Definitely one of my most anticipated games leading into this year, but playing it, I was very pleased. It's really just about how they'll handle monetization. It's much of what we said the same with 2K. When I played Diablo Immortal, I was like, I love the shared world idea, but this game is fucking gross. And I'm hoping that if Diablo Immortal has to exist so that 4 can be pure and free of microtransactions for the most part, let it be so. Because what we played from, at least in my opinion, like game design, flow, the gameplay itself, the narrative, everything has, in my eyes so far, been improved. Yes. And I don't think we need to tamper with what is going to be a strong performing product by throwing in monetization on top of it. Because most of the time we'll look at it and go, well, how would they even fit it in? And of course, with something with loot, it's pretty easy to fit in. But that's where these publishers get crafty and they go, oh, we'll find a way to charge you a little bit extra. We'll find a way. So I'm just hoping they stay their hand because they do have something I think really good on their hands. It's just a matter of if they keep some self-control and if what I experienced in those first couple of hours really does continue to impress in the deeper hours of the game. Last thing, I think you'll agree with this because I thought of you as well. This game's a looker. Looks really good. Very sharp. Visual diversity too. It was at first it was just snow, and I liked the vibe. But then I got to these kind of swampy dead forests and I got into more Greenlands and I went, oh wow, it's like a lot of visual diversity here. As expected in open world, but I saw it much sooner than I thought I would. So yeah, really, really good test phase for Diablo 4 in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think I want to test out, I believe it has a local 2-player local co-op. So I wanna try that. You know what I'm saying? Probably like a split screen co-op, see how that goes. But yeah, I'm ready. Like, I'm with you. Once I get a taste of something, it's so good. I actually stop myself because I'm like, you got me. I'm there.
Yep.
Pre-order, Super Deluxe Edition is done.
Yeah, no need to spoil the experience for us. Like that's the beauty of like even with our Redfall preview, it was like an hour and a half, and I was like, okay, I got a taste. Yep. I'd like to say we're trained enough in our trade where it's like, okay, I don't really need to have 5 hours of hands-on time. I've gone to hands-on previews where they're like, yeah, you can play for like 4 hours, and it's nuts. But I felt I saw enough and was very convinced on what's there because you can get a good for a game in that stretch of time.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're playing this week. Let's move into our warm-up questions, Cog. Number 1 comes from Astro Parrot King. He writes,
the homie.
Hi, beautiful Maddie and swag Cog. With the announcement of EA delisting Mirror's Edge, Battlefield 1943, and Bad Company 1 and 2, plus the 3DS and Wii U eShops going down. Do you all have any major feelings about this or any core memories of these games? Do these store delistings give a case for pirates? Have a I met Lord Cog and he is the MF GOAT. Now I just need to beat Maddie kind of day. Thank you, Astro. We appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to shaking your hand one day, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's hilarious. He's the one that does the Defining Duke and the ILP spoilers without context. And he'll have like these 4 images.
I love that. Those are funny.
Amazing. The community. Like the community loves him. So salute to you, brother. We got a chance to meet in Houston at the LSM event. Make sure he brought that cowboy hat. Bring it to PAX. And hopefully you get to meet Maddie, man.
Yes, sir.
Complete the circle. But it's a good question. This doesn't sit well with me. Little concerned. Delistings, man. It's funny because while you were talking about your experience with Diablo, I was sitting there thinking about, because you were talking about, remember you were just talking about how like you're doing the shared world instance and you like it because someone came in and they swooped in. And in my mind, I'm like, bro, that was Marvel Heroes. When I used to play Marvel Heroes, they'd have these world events and I'd play Daredevil and then all of a sudden you see another Spider-Man or somebody come through and I'm like, I missed that. But guess what? That game's delisted. You can't play it at all. Right? So that's the thing. It's the scary thing of this digital era where companies, for whatever reason, can delist. And I had good memories, especially I remember Mirror's Edge. I remember it was the wall running, the jump in. I was like, wow, this is cool. This is scary. This is scary because it goes back to what you're saying, you know, and some people are like, oh, bro, no one's playing those games. They're old. But that's not the point. The point is game preservation. And you said something very profound back a while ago on Duke. You were like, if people came from another world, right, to say, okay, what were the things of the time? Like we don't even have like a physical museum to put these things in because of that, right? There's no point or a resource point to say, bam, like this is what it was because it's on a digital storefront that literally can be evaporated for whatever reason. Right. And that's the part of this era, as much as I'm team tech and I'm team future and I'm all about where things are shifting and going, I'll admit, but this part is scary. And I do feel we need a little bit more on game preservation. So yeah, I'm very curious about you because based on everything you do, a retro rebound and and how you're all about preservation. So I'm very curious like how this news hit you.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it goes without saying, I find it really disappointing, but I think the biggest disappointment is Mirror's Edge kind of being a casualty in the crossfire. I understand, shutting down the online services for games like Battlefield 1943 or Bad Company 1 and 2. I actually love Bad Company 2, so it's sad to hear they're sunsetting that. That was one of my favorites. That's actually what got me into the Battlefield franchise. And so I found that really sad to see, but I was like, okay, how long are you going to keep the servers alive for games that are barely played? It's easy for me as a fan to say, just keep them alive in case one day I feel like it and I might not ever get around to it. Delisting is a little bit different because now it's just straight up unavailable. And Battlefield Bad Company 2 had campaigns. It's not like these were just online games. Mirror's Edge, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't know if there was a single online component to that game, but even if there was, it was a predominantly single player game where I am unaware what is keeping these companies from allowing these to be sold. And what we've seen is EA moves a little slick, right? I think a bit about Dead Space Remake, and I think about what they did with the FPS boost for other titles and availability of other titles and marketing of other titles versus, we got the remake coming. We got to pick that up, right? And so I wonder, I'm not saying they're going to remake all those Battlefield games and they're going to remaster all of them and like Mirror's Edge is going to come back, but that's where my head goes is, I think Mirror's Edge is the one that stands out as the why. Online games naturally are going to be shut down. I think they should still exist to be sold if you have a single player component, but that's my personal belief. But Mirror's Edge is the big why. And so I can't help but scratch my head at that one continuously. And that's my real main thought from that one is, of course, it's disappointing. Of course, I want them to preserve them. That much has been said to death, but I'm trying to think a layer deeper now and figure out why EA would do this because it's one thing when we look at Konami with the Metal Gear Solid collection, which as we covered on Defining Duke, a year ago, they said, oh, it's going to be back soon. We're just renewing the licenses. Well, again, it's been a year. So, you can't really trust what these companies say, but to my knowledge, Mirror's Edge and Battlefield, all these games are not licensed products. They're IP owned by EA. I don't know if there's licensing within the game. This is all stuff that I would say more likely revolves around the legality, the business side of things, where there is something we don't know that's not being explained to us, and it's why these games are being taken down. But it's disappointing nonetheless, and I find it irritating that the priority isn't, let's find a way to keep it up instead of, let's take it down and see if anyone bitches up a storm. And people are bitching up a storm and thinking it's whack. So I'm just wondering if EA is going to go, we're finding a way to keep these games listed. Again, if you got to shut down the online services, fine. It sucks, but fine. I love the idea of occasionally diving into like a really old multiplayer game. I think of BioShock 2's multiplayer sometimes as one I would love to go back to. I get why it's not feasible. What are we keeping this alive for 20 players? Totally get it. But the delisting doesn't sit well with me. And I think it just, it's about history in general, right? It's about the idea that when we make a mistake and we attempt to bury it and we attempt to hide it away or have a great success in human history, right? These things should be put in a museum and remembered. And when we forget our history, we are doomed to repeat it again. And I know that's very dramatic for video games, but as an entertainment industry that's trying to be taken seriously and evolve in meaningful ways, you got to make sure you preserve the things, even if they're duds. Cog, what do you have to say?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, again, not to name drop, we just had Harold Goldberg on and we were talking about, the rise of video games and how it's become like the number one de facto thing in pop culture as far as even from revenue and stuff. Like it is, video games are here. So I'm with you on the preservation. Now, in fairness, I did go back and read the EA statement right now. So what they're saying is, okay, offline, here they say, okay, so this is in preparation starting April 28th. They're going to be removed from digital storefronts. You'll no longer be able to purchase them. They said this is in preparation for retirement of the online services for these titles, which will happen December 8th. They said for Bad Company 1 and 2, you can still continue playing them and use their respective offline features, such as the single-player campaign. Right. So that part, okay, that's a little clarity, but the fact that I guess the fact that they're removing them from the digital storefront is interesting to me.
It just fucks up the physical games market because then people say it's artificially scarce, and now those games they're not expensive games, by the way, but they'll double, triple in price just because people decide that's what they should be worth. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and that's the part. And to your point, again, I'm not going to sit there and claim like I know all the, like maybe there is, digital license music. Maybe there's things that, the contracts ran up and I get that. But I don't know, it's just always weird to me where it's just like, okay, we're removing this from a storefront unless they're so concerned about getting, sued about something. But yeah, this is the part of the game that, it don't sit well. I love being able to review our history game wise.
Yeah, so that's where we stand on that, Astro Parrot King. Thank you so much for writing in. Let's talk with Quantum Radish, who touches on a topic that we were getting into a bit earlier. He writes, "Good day, Dukes. I had a question about Redfall's release date and wanted to gauge your thoughts on it. Recently, while playing Halo Wars 2 with my brother on the box, the question was posed, are you going to check out that Redfall game when it comes out? My prompt response was, I would like to, but I don't think I'll have the time. This game releases 4 days after Star Wars Jedi Survivor and 10 days before The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's safe to say Redfall is definitely the weakest looking of the three. And for many people who have to budget their gaming time, this game will be the skip. Personally, I feel Redfall is just going to fall to the wayside. Maybe a few people will be talking about it when it releases, but it will be very quickly forgotten about with all other games. How do you think it will fare? And would it possibly benefit from a delay this late and this close to the release? Love to hear your thoughts. Have a great day. Thank you, Quantum Radish. Cog, again, we just had the chance to play the game. And for those who are listening, as I said earlier, our impressions are up on Last Stand Media. You can check them out right now. But as for the release window, Cog, it is sandwiched between two pretty dominant forces. I am of the mindset that Arcane needs a win, right? They need a big financial win, I should specify, because I think Deathloop was a win. I think all their games are honestly huge W's, but financially to varying degrees. But I think Redfall needs to be that dominant player count that they're really looking for. And I think Game Pass is going to be tested here, right? I think this is going to be the moment we see, all right, you've got really strong competitors in the vicinity. Can Redfall amass a massive player count despite all that? And has Arcane succeeded in pulling in the masses? And I say that because I want to dish it to you now, because I look at the trailer viewership, and I'm not basing my whole argument on one singular anecdotal data, but there was a new story trailer that we talked about on last week's show, dropped on Bethesda's channel, and when I looked around its launch, it had 29K views in 10 hours. That is not good. I know it's posted across the Xbox channel and whatnot, other Bethesda global channels. I know that you'll get diminishing returns when a single upload is found across multiple places, but 29K in 10 hours is really bad. So I find it concerning the reach that Redfall is currently failing to have. But I think much like with Game Pass, it's its own marketing machine. And as people play it and talk about it, it will do its own thing, is what we've learned now with Hi-Fi Rush, with High on Life. So I feel like Redfall can do better than we're expecting, but I think we're all adjusting to that new Game Pass marketing phase that is so fresh, right? Because there are games that we've doubted and went, I don't know. And then here it is, Hi-Fi Rush, 2 million players. Awesome. And we know that's the main metric for Xbox, right? They're training the public to talk about the player count, less than the sales, though we'll continue to focus on the sales. So Cog, with that in mind, Redfall, it's going against Jedi Survivor. It's going against Tears of the Kingdom. Are people even going to make time for this one? Because this is, again, going to be that real Game Pass test where player count is going to matter more than sales, I feel.
Yeah, this is a great question. And I love how you framed it, because we are going to learn a lot about how this title does. First thing, Redfall needs to be good. Right, let's just get that out there. It needs to be good. It needs to be a quality experience. Hopefully, it reviews well. Obviously, the Dukes will have their thoughts that you guys are going to get your hands on very soon. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. This is why I look at it. I look at it like Jedi Fallen Order is a huge title, right? That to me is going to take a lot of the zeitgeist and the investment. The key is going to be, because Redfall fits the 4-player cooperative Xbox kind of engagement model, right? So the key is the fact that it's in Game Pass and easily accessible. And if it is good, does the path to entry being so light and to get in, does that supersede everything? We're going to learn a lot about the metric. And in fairness to Redfall, it is a different type of game. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's more designed for people to play with friends, most likely. You know what I'm saying? We'll divulge more on that later. But at the end of the day, they expect you to grab up the homies and go. So I'm curious. You know, Zelda is Zelda. Like, we're just going to be clear. Zelda stops everything. It doesn't matter what's going on. Zelda stops everything. So you got that. I am very curious to see what happens. And again, if the game is good, does the fact that it's in Game Pass get virality? And maybe they don't get the marketing. I agree with you. Maybe they don't get the marketing win. They're not beating. You're talking Star Wars, bro. Like, I don't care what's going on. Star Wars, you ain't, you know what I'm saying? And then you're talking Big Link is outside. Big Link is home. We call him Big Link out here. That's what we call him out. When he come outside, he let Horizon know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Big Link's outside. We know what he do. We got respect. So the question just becomes, the fact that it's in Game Pass and everyone can download it on PC and Xbox, and if it is good, does that change the narrative? And do they still get virality? You know what I mean? Because it fits in that cooperative. We're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling for Arcane because, like you said, you know, they haven't had the big wins on some of their older, more revered titles, right? So I'm curious how this does.
Absolutely. And again, that player count is going to say a lot about where it stood with the masses. I felt pretty good coming out of the playtest. You know, I enjoyed my time with it. There were concerns, as we expressed in our full discussion on DDU, about the powers and how it's broken up. But its co-op driven nature, its lack of microtransactions, its Game Pass availability, I think will put it on a level where it's going to be played a lot. But I'm curious if it'll hang, is really where I think the conversation lies, is once Zelda comes in. I do think there is some possibility, much like Quantum Radish wrote, that it may be a thing of the past a little quick. And I hope it's not, but that's just the way Arcane games have unfortunately gone. And now they find themselves stuck between two really competitive titles. And it goes to what I said earlier of, you know, you can move, but what are you going to do? Move to June? Where you're going to go between Diablo 4 and a new Final Fantasy game? So this is, I think, a necessary test for Arcane to know if they're heading in the right direction. Okay, no matter what we do based off when our game is ready, we got to make sure if our game can stand toe-to-toe with strong competition and a massive player base, or will it kind of go the way of Arcane games where it's a lesser player base? This is also the first time we're seeing an Arcane game launch with Game Pass. There's a lot of important tests here. A lot of important tests here. So it's going to be a big conversation when it drops. But I'm very much rooting for them. Of course, I've said this before, even if I wasn't crazy going into Redfall, I was very much rooting for them on the front of, like, I want them to have a win. You know, even if it's against my personal design beliefs, you know, they can have their win. I want them to have it. So we'll see how it goes. But it's a great question, Quantum Radish, and we appreciate you writing it.
Love it.
All right, let's get into the news, Cog. We got 5 beats today to get through. This one has to do with PlayStation, but a lot of our audience was writing in on the Xbox front. And I think since these two are pretty much parallel in how they release stuff, it's a good conversation to have. So let's cover what's going on in PlayStation and bring it over to Xbox. Insider Gaming reports that a PS5 Pro is in development currently with a release planned for late 2024. It's also been reported that a new detachable disk drive will be released later this year, with the upcoming model eventually phasing out the current one. Insider Gaming says that they understand the next generation of PlayStation likely won't begin until at least 2028, putting this generation in line with ones of yore. Insider Gaming suggests a showcase should be around the corner soon for Sony to talk on Spider-Man 2 and its planned hardware for 2023. Now, Stephen Richard writes in, what's up, Dukes? I was listening to Xbox 2 and was curious what you two thought of one of their debates. Rand believes if Sony announced a PS Pro or whatever the mid-gen upgrade will be called, do you think Xbox will too? And if so, will it be for both Series S and X, or just upgrade the X for the hardcore gamer and leave the S alone? Personally, I align more with Jez. He believes it doesn't matter. Sony has already won and will continue to win in hardware sales. This leaves me to believe that Xbox would not be forced to create a mid-gen upgrade and instead use a springboard to promote cloud and the accessibility without spending $500 plus. Most of the X's hardware are being used to help servers of the cloud anyway, as opposed to the lining the shelves with more X consoles, at least according to Jez. Anyway, would love to hear both your thoughts on this and what you believe Xbox would do when inevitably PlayStation announces their mid-gen upgrade. Hope you guys have a mid-gen. I thought this gen was just getting started kind of day, and I'm kind of in the same boat on that. I wasn't ready for this conversation, but it's getting to that point, even if we're just starting to get those next-gen exclusive games finally. Here we are now, Cog. So you brought this one to my attention as like, hey, we should make this our headline. So I, of course, want you to kick us off here. We see PlayStation's getting that mid-gen upgrade, and these two seem to just be neck and neck, right? Like they got men and women in the building on each side. Like, oh, what's the scoop? Oh, they're working on that? All right, let's get to the R&D division, see what we can get cooking for an Xbox Pro. Is that happening? Do you see that being a plan, or do they leave things as is? I'm curious if we see eye to eye on this one.
This is a tough one. This is a fun one and a tough one because I see both arguments legitimately. We had a mini discussion about this just with the PlayStation 5 Pro portion of this. And shout out to Tom Henderson, who was in the chat that day, and it got intense. It got intense on the need for it. It got intense on what the price point would be. And, look, his reporting has been solid. And I got to give the whole team some credit. LordsOfGame.net, we was actually on this before Tom has. You know what I'm saying? We had an old article, shout out to my man Mods Gaming, about, SoC chips and things designed with the trademarks and patent that could allude to a PlayStation 5 Pro. And we got laughed at the building for putting that rumor up.
Oh, laughed at the building, you say?
Oh, so now the receipts are coming. The messy card comes back.
The
North remembers.
Don't mess with this.
Oh, yeah, the North remembers. So, yeah, so I had to plug the whole team. But salute to Tom, man. He's been in his bag. But, all right, now the Xbox portion. This is the fun part.
Give me what you got.
So, historically, we have seen that Phil Spencer has been on record. We will not lose the power narrative ever again. During his reign, the beginning of his reign, his first thing to course correct the Xbox One era was create the Xbox One X. Project Scorpio. Want to get the power narrative back. Now, if we look at it, it could be a situation where history repeats itself, where the PS4 Pro, people forget, came out before PlayStation initiated the mid-gen refresh in the console space. PlayStation 4 Pro came out, and we were like, oh, that's interesting, the more powerful PlayStation. Okay, cool. And it locked for a year, and then the next year, here came the Scorpio, right? Now, if the rumors are to be true, and they, plan on launching, end of 2024, maybe 2025, and this generation is extended. One, there are more chips available for consoles now. Like we're getting to that point now where the chip shortage is kind of a thing. We're coming out on the second half or the tail end of COVID. With Xbox, they're in a unique position because they have a double SKU approach, Series S, Series X. Mm-hmm. Series S is doing well for them.
Indeed.
You got the Series X, which is supposed to be the powerful. Now, if you come with the Series X, as we call it, the Ultra, we would call it ILP, right? If you come with an Ultra, the question is, one, does the S stay pat as it is? Is there an updated version of the S, right? Or does the S stay where it's at? Because you can't really try to sell that, the idea of upgrading something that people just bought that. And then this becomes the enthusiast machine. I'm very curious to see. I was going to put it out there. As a techie, this does go to my sensibilities. I understand that this generation, we feel like we haven't really seen these consoles push to the limits of graphical fidelity and really tap into the metal. So I understand that part. But Maddie, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm the same guy. If I'm an enthusiast, this is my hobby. Every 2 years, your boy upgrading. Getting this the Galaxy Ultra, whatever. I know you're an Apple guy, I get it, but I don't know what your upgrade habits are on Apple. I don't know if you're like me, where like I won't get it every year, but every 2 to 3, I feel there's a substantial jump. I'm gonna get it. So I know me, the techie, selfishly can't have an Xbox Series X Super Deluxe Ultra combo out there and not be a part of it. Now the question becomes, you know, the argument, shout out to Xbox, shout out to Red and Jez. You know, with Jez's argument with the stay pat, I get it. They could go hard with the games, but here's the thing. And this is what goes back to the Phil statement about never losing the power. One of the things that really crushed them was part of the reason why, another reason why they lost the generation of Xbox One and PlayStation 4 is, this is how we do 1080p. You are 900p, right? And now we're talking 4K. We're talking ray tracing. We're talking all these other features. And if PlayStation now, you know, completely dominates them on that front, from a marketing and PR perspective, that does not look good for Xbox. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why they're so that to me, this is my opinion, my last thought on it. I feel this console's already made. It's already in development. Jason Ronald, we got to talk because you've been quiet lately. I don't know what's going on with you. You've been very quiet.
You can't fix those achievements if you're working on a console, right?
You can't fix the UI. I'm just joking. But you got to prioritize what you're going to do if you're already, and it would make sense. It would say, why is these things taking so long? Right? DVR. Because if you plan on launching these new features with the new console refresh, and these guys, bro, they got whiteboards in corporate. We're talking, they've got the next 5 to 10 year planned out on where they want to go. So I wouldn't be surprised, y'all. And I know it's gonna maybe upset my boy Matty. You know, I don't. His face is giving me he ain't with this.
Oh no, I'm just listening intently. No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I got that face. Apparently, I've learned. A lot of people think I don't like them, and I'm just listening to them.
Because I was like, oh, he about to come at me. No. So I just like, but you know, I know a lot of gamers don't want to hear this. But that's the reality. I think that, you know, they understand that there's a last point. I know controllers don't match to system, but if they were able to put out an elite premium product, and let's be honest, the build quality elite controller sometimes is a little sketchy, but we're gonna move on. And people are going and buying these things in drove, a $200, basically almost $150 to $200 controller. You don't think the hardcore gaming enthusiast is going to run out there? Because we could talk all we want, but FOMO is real. When you see your timeline, and I'm playing Elder Scrolls 6, and it's at 4K with 120 ray tracing. Oh, what's your version? How's the Series S and X doing over there with the 30 subframe and the thing? And the FOMO hit. And then Digital Foundry, the rise of Digital Foundry, going to be on again. They love this time. They go, we've had our with Richard Ledbetter here. We have our shout out to Ledbetter, shout out to Lindemann. I had him on. Like, I know what it do. So that's my thoughts. And I'm very curious where you stand. I am dying to know where you stand. This, to me, I'm here for this. Let me be.
Yeah, when it comes to next gen refresh, first of all, thank God PlayStation's doing it. I say that not in a fanboy way. Just I hate how the PS5 looks. It's so bulky, big, and absolutely takes up my dresser space that it's on. And I hope they make this Pro smaller, more compact. Yes, and I'm usually all for the creativity, but more normal looking. I say it, by the way, I haven't used my Xbox in a hot minute, so calm down before you think I'm coming for them. I've been using my PlayStation for my Octopath 2. I've gotten nice and cozy with it. I'm like, you are ugly as sin, Jesus Christ. So first off, thank you, PlayStation, for recognizing your own shortcomings. Xbox, I'm in the middle on this. I agree. I think it's probably already made. But for the sake of conversation, I'll just throw out a couple things. Number one, I think Xbox, again, benefits from price proposition, right? And I just think the Series S, if you create like a new SKU that's more expensive than the X, but I'm sorry, you create a version that's more expensive than the X and the S, and now you're adding on top of it, like you've got 3 consoles. And so you're creating a good amount of options here. But I feel like if PlayStation is going to do what we've seen them do, which is like come out, ball out, high price hardware. Obviously, I think the PS5, as they've mentioned in the article, will phase out a bit. It'll get knocked down in price. But I think Xbox stands to gain if they're the cheapest console in the market, just like they stood to gain when PlayStation moved up their console prices first. And now Xbox, we know, is following through and doing that in other regions, but they're trying to hold fast where they can. Where I just think, again, they benefit from just staying put because the S is growing. It is gaining momentum. You see it, for example, in Japan gaining momentum. So I think there is a strength to staying as is. At the same time, there's a lot of intriguing ways Xbox can go, which is like the main point I want to make here. Xbox posted last June after the gaming showcase that they did with Bethesda, where they said, like, this is building the gaming platform for the next 2 decades. This is what we're thinking. And a lot of it was focused on cloud gaming, bringing it to more platforms, where I'm of the mindset that they've said already, we're going to make more consoles. Like in the next generation, there will be another console. Like they're already speaking like that. So I know they're going to do that. I trust they're going to do that. But I think their bigger concern is getting Xbox cloud gaming onto as many platforms as possible and less trying to push hardware. Microsoft is a services business, as I'm sure everyone's heard ad nauseum. And Xbox is turning into a services business for better and for worse in some regards. And this is, I think, going to be one of those changes where I don't know if they're going to have to play the major hardware game. It's more like, do you have good internet? Do you have this device? Okay, cool. Now, there is obviously the dick measuring contest that is console specs that they do want to stay up with. And they kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. I just don't know if it's priority number one based off what they have shown me. What they have shown me is what screen can we get our services on? They have not shown me, because their word right now is the Xbox Series X is the most powerful console on the market. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago in the final question of our show. Maddie, Cog, what do you guys think about how the Series X is underperforming on these big AAA games like Hogwarts Legacy? And we had differing responses. And I know a couple of people were upset about my approach to it. And I've always made it clear, like the techie approach will never be my forte. That is not my strength on this show. I'm a software guy first, clearly. But yeah, I personally believe I could see them going either way. If I were to lean in favor of one direction based off what I've seen them do, I would lean in the side of, I don't think they need to do it because their services show me they don't need it. But I think they're going to do it anyway. They're doing R&D for new consoles anyways. They probably anticipate that these games are going to get bigger and better. And I think one thing that really helped them out when they dropped the Series X, while it would have been nice to have a launch game, was showing how they could take an Xbox One game in Gears 5 with Hive Busters and make it look next gen. And so if you get that again with a mid-gen refresh, there is something exciting about that. But for me, I never picked up any of these mid-gen refreshes. The only one I ever did was the Switch OLED. I remember Dustin offered me his pre-order. And at first I wasn't going to do it, but then I actually had extra cash lying around. I thought of my V and I went, I do like the OLED screen. I said, let's see what it's all about. And I actually love my OLED. So, but I've never got the PS Pro. I had the 1S, but Xbox did give that to me. I remember they emailed me after Gears 4 came out. They said, do you want some swag? What's your address? I'm like, sure, send me a t-shirt. And they sent me a fucking 1S. So I was like, okay. So I was like, wow, I was thankful. I still have it. It's the Gears 1S. Oh, wow. This thing is a thing of
the
beauty.
Gears one?
Yeah, that thing is nice.
With the sound and the thing? Oh, I love that one.
I was very grateful, of course. But I've never paid for one, I should say, because I never found need of it. Like I ran my one into the ground. I ran my PS4 into the ground. I just call me crazy, but I think this just ties back into what I said about my lack of techiness. Like I don't care about that stuff.
You stood pat.
Yeah, okay. So I stood pat the whole generation. I always have.
Wow.
I think the PS5 is the only time I have literally been. You can catch me on record saying, like, please release a mid-gen refresh that is smaller and not as weird looking. Please, for the love of God, this thing's a fucking spaceship on my dresser. But when it comes to the Xbox, again, I don't want to try to punch too far above my weight. I think this is one that I could see them focusing more on the cloud and that type of stuff. And I don't know if they need to play the game. I think they just need to focus on making their shit accessible and interesting and not playing the price game. I think we'll keep them in that range where people see Game Pass and go like, okay, we just talked about Redfall. I can buy Star Wars. I can buy Tears of the Kingdom. Or if I have Game Pass, I could just go get Redfall. This game looks pretty good. And I think, that's where we're seeing some changes. We'll talk about it later. Just last thought here. I know it sounds like I'm spiraling a bit, but I think it all comes together, which is I see an Xbox focusing on quality now. Like they're getting to the point where they're getting comfortable with like, we're going to start releasing games now. So when you look at the Game Pass output, it's changed dramatically this year. Like this week, we're going to talk about how there are 2 games coming to the service, right? So long as they focus on quality output in hardware, in cloud, in games, the people will come as they did for PlayStation. So I think they just need to make sure their stuff is as accessible as possible. And what gets them there, not a new SKU in my eyes, but a new focus on cloud gaming, which, it goes against my personal beliefs, but I'm trying to look at it from what would happen if I'm Microsoft and I'm sitting in the chair with all they have with Azure. I think they're going to focus on expanding those services more than creating a new SKU. But, especially with like, again, the DRM practices for Xbox are the worst out of the industry. So they're not really showing me they care about history where they're like, oh, we want you to preserve your games. They want you to be able to play them. It's just a matter of where. So, Cog,
love for the back.
Thoughts on this?
I'm just joking. This is a good one, man, because they truly have options where they can go with this. It doesn't have to be the cut and dry, mid-gen refresh. Even though I do predict they are going to do it, I'm just thinking if they were going to do it, how would they pull it off, right? And then you have the Series S. Affectionately we call Lil Man, as the lowest end SKU. That's probably the more popular and probably doing well in certain regions. And then we have the Series X. So to me, generally, when I see talk of a new SKU, what generally happens is there's what I consider a shift down. So X becomes the S. The price may drop. Series Ultra now becomes the $500 point system, right? Because you got a new one, you can't charge that same thing. And I would hope you don't think you don't charge more, because I would like to keep you in that 500 pocket. Now, here's the thing, though, where it could get really interesting for them. You could theoretically put the Series S as a $200 console, $150 console. Listen.
Go on. No, go on. I'm just saying in general, like, could they? That'd be awesome.
Scenario now. Let's create a scenario.
Let's hear it.
ABK deal goes through.
Oh.
You can put it on. Hey, it's a lot, but it could happen.
Let's go. This is fun.
The timelines could. So now you've got a Series S that you can literally make the Call of Duty, and we know the Series S is very marketable. It's very fashionable. You can make a Call of Duty. You can make a Diablo 4 Series S. Right? You could do all the big ABK, anything that, and as a pack-in, and say, boom, you want to jump in the next gen? Here it is, the base level. Here's Little Man Series S packed in. Here you go, Call of Duty, and make that the Call of Duty box, and you have that at a $200 price point or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Then you got Series X, and then you got the Ultra for the quote unquote the enthusiast. Now, to Jez's point, I'm not going to completely dismiss cloud, because all I will say is this: Series S is all digital console. There's no disk drive in it, right? So theoretically, you could say, okay, let's just say down the generation, people are like, the Series S is difficult to develop for, which I'll be honest, there's a part of me that's a little bit overrated, because you're still making for PC. These games are coming to PC and the ports are lower than the Series S spec. So we're not going to do that. And also on the PlayStation side, there is a PlayStation 4 that is lower than the Series S spec that they still develop. So I'm not into where that affects his game design, but I don't believe the way that it's holding the generation back, because all these consoles are like PCs. So if you were to say theoretically the Series S is a 2060, you know what I'm saying? And you say that the X is a 2080, and the Series X Ultra will be a 3080 or 4090 or whatever it will be, right? PC games been working like that all the time, B. You know what I'm saying? So that, I don't get into all this. There's a lot of people who have very pointed attacks at the Series X for reasons other than game development. We're going to move on. Anyway, like I would say, so my thing is, I could see a scenario where you have those SKUs and the Series S could still end up winning in that scenario. So I am curious, but I agree with you, though. This is my last point. Games will be the focus. They are hitting their stride. And man, if you really start hitting it with the Starfields, the Hellblades, the Avoweds, the Fables, the Perfect, and you have this monstrous game lineup with this, it could work, man. It could work, but there's a lot of ifs. But we'll see how it happens. I'm very curious about this because they are in a unique situation by having a dual SKU approach currently. How does that affect? Do you discontinue the series? There's a lot of questions, right? I don't want to go too crazy, but I'm looking to review this moving forward, see how this goes.
Yeah, definitely. I think your point's extremely fair. Just for the sake of conversation, yeah, I can see them going either way, truly. So we'll see in due time, but that's what's going on with PlayStation and how it could tie into Xbox. Let's move on to number 2, Cog. Is there anything else you want to add in?
No, we good.
Good? All right, cool. Number 2, Starfield. It has been given a restricted 18 plus rating currently in Australia due to its strong violence and drug use. And if you look up the image, you can see why this was classified as such, where under sex, there is none. So if you're looking to have some in-depth romances in Starfield, there will be none. They say the nudity is very mild impact. So again, sorry, everybody, there's not going to be any of that here. As well, the themes they say are moderate impact as well as the language. But the strong impact and high impact of this classification, under strong is violence, and then under high impact is drug use. And that puts it at the 18 plus rating. So I have some thoughts on this, Cog, I wanted to offer, because number one, I like seeing the strong impact on violence. I was a little bit worried after seeing the first gameplay showing last year, and the guy takes out this big shotgun. There's no blood, no gore. I'm like, no, man, like Fallout spoiled me. I love watching enemies explode. It's really nice. So I think this may be putting us in a direction that type of stuff is there. That type of gore is there. Maybe it just wasn't added in at that time. Whereas the drug use is fascinating because it does cycle back to an old Bethesda Game Studios game I'll get into. But those who don't know, there was a video for Into the Starfield posted where Emil Pagliarulo was walking us through some of the planets and places you'd visit in Starfield, and one was called Neon, which is a pleasure city, is what it was defined as, and it was about this new drug that was there. So there's a lot of drug use in Starfield, no doubt about it. If the rating wasn't anything to go by, I'm putting my finger at that being one of the reasons. But here's where it gets interesting. So for those who don't know, originally Fallout 3 had this same rating in Australia of restricted 18 plus. The reason for this was because Fallout 3 had morphine in it. And Australia said, no, we do not want that. We are going to rate this 18 plus. And the reason you don't want that is it makes it more difficult to sell your game, because you want a mature 15 plus rating in Australia, because then those who are 15 and up can legally purchase the game.
So, yeah, I wanted to ask you, because this is new to me, this information of the rating change. So when Fallout 4 had some type of, was it be mature or drug use kind of rating, and they made changes based on the name that you were saying, did then Australia change their rating for the game?
Yeah, for Fallout 3, it was. It's now rated MA 15 plus for strong violence, drug references, and coarse language. So yeah, it's not restricted there any longer, because apparently it was all about Fallout 3 having morphine instead of medics. So they changed that for them to get the proper rating, because it's important. So I expect much of the same here will happen with Starfield. I don't think they want a restricted rating. I think they want it to be a mature game, but I don't think they want it to be walled off. That is my current theory based off what we have seen with Bethesda Game Studios in Australia in the past. In Australia, it's funny because I know my good friend Lone Vault Wanderer, had a lot of familiarity with this, because he worked in the legal side of video games in Australia for a hot minute. Dope. And he said that they're notoriously strict on this type of stuff. So I'm sure Bethesda was seeing what they could get away with, and now they have their answer.
Got it. Oh, it makes sense. And yeah, I'm with you. I support your theory. I think they will make the necessary adjustment to get a little bit of a more widespread, even if it means a name change or something like that. Yeah.
Right. So that's what's going on with Starfield, 18 plus rating in Australia. We move on to number 3 now. Really fun rumor here. And let's go through it. So new rumors are suggesting that Shin Megami Tensei 3, 4, 4 Apocalypse, and 5 are making their way to Xbox with an announcement arriving on the 30th anniversary of the series, which is May 6th, 2023. This rumor originates from 4chan, so take it with a grain of salt, but the attached image leak does offer some credibility to the source. And if you do end up looking this up, you'll see a picture of the main protagonists from each of the Shin Megami Tensei games, being 3 Nocturne, 4 Apocalypse, and 5, with a list of consoles beneath them being Xbox One, Series consoles, Switch, Windows, Steam. This would be a significant leap for Atlus because, for example, Shin Megami Tensei 4 and 4 Apocalypse are only available on like the DS family of systems. 5 is only on Switch, and that was the most successful SMT game to my knowledge. And then 3 Nocturne is available in, I think it's on Switch and PlayStation, but I know a lot of people were lukewarm to the reception of that remaster. But they may be making their way to Xbox, and I'm very excited about this because this is a series that Persona spun off of, but also SMT5 was one of my games of the year. I absolutely loved it. It kind of took that flair of Persona with the difficulty of SMT, this grim post-apocalyptic open world. It's a very weird game, but it's very fun. Very difficult, mind you. So good luck if it does come to Xbox. Okay. Whereas SMT4, I only played Apocalypse, and I was less favorable of it, probably because I did it a little backwards. But the final dungeon in that game just, oh my God, what were they thinking? Oh man, what were they cooking? It was not good, whatever they were cooking. It was burnt food. Oh, and SMT3, I haven't played. But these are all games I know Xbox fans want. Sega, Atlus continuing to support Xbox. So, Cog, is this something you see coming to fruition?
Yes, as I have predicted. Like I said, when Phil went out there and I told I got to come for my brother Sav, I got to come for him right now because he ain't told me it would never happen. Persona would never happen. And these are the fruits of these trips. It just makes me smile. Now, this is huge. All jokes aside, this is huge. I do believe this rumor. I know I shouldn't jump out the window yet, you know what I'm saying, but there's a part of me that believes this because it feels like the type of a rollout that they would do, and they'd be like, "Hey, let's get all of them." Right. And it seems in line with the Persona one. Remember, they had the Persona version that was only on, the PSP. It seems in line. Let's get the catalog in Game Pass or, in the system. It makes sense. And even if it doesn't come to Game Pass, it's still a big get just in general that be on the platform. So I've never played an SMT game, I'll be honest. So this is very intriguing to me. You're scaring me with the difficulty, though. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's one of the few series I will play on easy.
Damn.
A lot of people love how difficult it is. I personally don't because I find it to be the frustrating type of difficulty where it's a turn-based RPG, right? So you'll be chipping away, doing your best, and then they'll hit you for a ton of damage just because it's a high difficulty. And you just go, man, well, I'm dead now. That sucks. And that's it. And that was my experience on normal in SMT. And I went, I'm not doing that again. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to grind. It's very old school, and people
old school grindy. Yeah, okay.
Love that. So again, it's much of what I said earlier about like I'm not coming for your favorite style of game and all that stuff. You can enjoy it, but for me, I like SMT on easy because I found it a little bit difficult, but it's manageable. I don't mind when games are tough, but when you sneak up on me and go, you just got hit by a bus, what are you gonna do? Like, no, I don't want to play that game.
And you out of there? That character, certain bosses? Oh, man.
And you can feel some of the SMT energy in Persona 3. If you play Persona 3 on normal, again, it makes sense. It's a spin-off of the SMT franchise. Persona 3, when you're going through Tartarus, enemies will just hit you really hard. Why? Because they can. Can they kill you? Yep. Can you control your party members? No, unless you're playing portable. It's just...
I got you.
It's absurdly difficult. So I don't find fun in that, but I love SMT5. Again, one of my top games of the year, the year it did come out. So I do recommend those who are interested, look into this series, and we will keep you appraised on what happens with SMT as the rumors pick up and we approach that, May 6th anniversary date.
Yes, hoping it happens so I can be messy. I want to be Messy Cog for that one.
We love Messy Cog. All right, number 4 here, little one, but very important to such a popular and successful game on Game Pass. High on Life DLC has been teased by Squanch Games. It's a little teaser trailer on their Twitter account. It says High on Knife. You hear new content load. You hear Knifey shouting rather, and then you see like new High on Life content loading. So it's teasing something on the way, and they're sticking with it, which is good. After everything that happened with Justin Roiland, there was a bit of future in question. So they're moving quick. It shows just how successful this game was, that they're not moving straight to a sequel, but they're doing DLC instead. I'm curious, Cog, do you have any ideas on what this could be?
Knifey's outside. It's funny. High on Life was booted up. I got all my backlog on the Series S for this trip. High on Life is in there. And yeah, I can't wait. I got that fired up. So yeah, they do. It's cool to see, they're still going to, support. Obviously, we know they've been through a lot of controversy, but yeah. I'm a little surprised that it came this fast, but I'm curious to jump in. I'm curious to see what's going on.
Yeah, it's very soon, 3 months after launch, but I'm curious what they will do as well. For me, not super excited about it. I'm more interested in their next game because, again, I said High on Life is a fun game or funny game, but I didn't like how it played at all. I didn't find it fun to play, and I know some people will be like, well, God, stop being so serious, bro. Like, I get that type of energy when I critique High on Life, and I get it. It cracks good jokes at times. That does not mean that I have to love everything about it. And therefore, my biggest criticism was its first-person shooting. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel fun. So I'm more interested in their sequel where they can build on that type of stuff. But if they end up doing a sequel, that is. But I like that they're sticking with it, and I'll definitely be looking into whatever this DLC is. Many people are quick to forget, Cog. I was the one champion in this game, quick to launch.
Oh yeah, you were the one.
So I don't want to hear any of this. Try to have some more fun in life, Matt. I have a lot of fun. Thank you.
You have a
lot.
You have a lot.
All right, let's talk about what's coming soon to Xbox Game Pass and what's leaving. Again, much as what it's been like for the last couple of months, the list of what's coming to Game Pass versus what's leaving are very different in size. So what's coming soon is MLB The Show 23 on console, PC, and cloud, March 28th, and Infinite Guitars, console, PC, and cloud, March 30th. Meanwhile, leaving Xbox Game Pass soon, on March 31st, all these games are leaving the service. A Memoir Blue leaves console, PC, and cloud. Chinatown Detective Agency leaves console, PC, and cloud. Cluster Truck leaves console, PC, and cloud. Double Dragon Neon leaves console and cloud. Kraken Academy leaves console, PC, cloud. MLB The Show 22 leaves console and cloud. And Power Rangers Battle for the Grid leaves console, PC, and cloud. So, Cog, my friend, another large exit list, one of them being the previous MLB The Show as the new one turns in. So not much was lost here, but I'm curious what you make of this list here and the consistency Xbox continues to have, which is, the day one Game Pass game takes precedent and they're not going to crowd it too much as their schedule starts to get more busy.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you said, I'm looking at what comes in, right? And I'm going to be honest. What I feel is happening is now that they're kind of hitting their stride. I don't want to say a quality check has happened, but it definitely feels like the ones that come in are very substantial, and you don't get like 5 or 6 at one time like how you did before. Now you get 2 or 3, and there's usually one or two of them with their chest out. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. MLB The Show, we know what time it is. We know what time it is. And, I can't wait. And obviously want to do the Negro Leagues portion. That's the part that's the fact that they're utilizing story. I mean, sports games to tell a historic narrative is very interesting to me. And I think that could be a cool educational tool. There's characters I didn't even know about, what I'm saying, that they're going to be highlighting, outside of Jackie Robinson, Larry, I don't think Larry Dober's in it, but other characters as well. But I'm excited for it. But as far as to your question, yeah, I think that we may see this as the trend moving forward as it ramps up, because now it's going to be harder to get in the Game Pass. Now, the virality is there. They don't need to have such a wider net as they did when they first started. So I think, and especially
just in time
now,
for me to be making my own game.
I know.
The barrier goes up, and I'm like, wait,
let me get it. Thanks, man. No, I feel you on that. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
In all seriousness, I love where they're going with it. I really do like this approach of quality over quantity. While I think we can have both, I like that this month, for example, was bookended by 2 big day one Game Pass games. You had Wolong to start off, which is a great game that you could play. I played it all in single player to completion. You could play it in multiplayer with co-op. And then you got at the end of the month another big MLB game, right? And then they continue that partnership. I just like that they're satisfying all crowds, right? Originally, it was the co-op focus. Then it was the anyone can get in focus, and it didn't matter what your quality was. Now they're doing single player sports. They're doing a lot of things here. They're getting the Japanese partnerships together. And by the way, we just talked about SMT. I think those will come on Game Pass. If they come to Xbox, I think they will be in Game Pass, no doubt, because these are pre-established games that have done very well. Atlas wants to grow them. Sega knows the value. We know how it goes. We know how this thing goes, man. We know how it goes. So I'm feeling confident about this one. Based off their approach, there would be no bigger statement in May than to say that whole JRPG series that's been missing is here, and you don't got to pay for it. It's here in Game Pass. I'm just saying, man. Just saying. So that's how I feel about this Game Pass list. I'm looking forward to trying out MLB The Show 23. I like the idea of the narrative as well, Cog. I think it's very cool that they're focusing on the Negro Leagues and giving that a lot of attention. It certainly deserves it, but they're doing it in a way that I think is expanding the knowledge of the player base, right? Because like you mentioned, they're going beyond like Jackie Robinson. And I think that's really nice to see because it shows like care, true knowledge, deep research was done. And to make it not just the baseball simulation, but again, that I think about what Assassin's Creed's done. Like Assassin's Creed to me, you can say all you want about the bloat of the game and whatnot, but I love how they build their worlds in Assassin's Creed. And I love how, for lack of better terms, true to life they are. And they use a discovery mode in those games that is used as an educational tool just to teach you history, but it's interactive history. And I've always been, because like my whole family works at a school, right? So they're in education across the board. And I've always been in the mindset that games are highly underutilized educational tools. Of course, there's put on the VR goggles. It's much more interactive. I'm talking about using things like the Assassin's Creed Discovery Mode, the MLB The Show story modes, that type of stuff that says like, here's this thing, let's bring you into this world in a way that's more interactive. Because not all kids, certainly I wasn't one of them, that's going to learn well by beating me over the head with a textbook and telling me to study my cheat sheet. Like, no. That type of learning, you got to play to the strengths of kids, right? And you want to get them like, oh, you like baseball? You're interested, like, we're learning about Black culture now. Like, let's go check out this part of MLB The Show. I just think that type of stuff is highly under discussed in the games industry. So I give Sony Santa Monica a lot of credit for chasing this one down, and I'm very excited to play it. I'll definitely be there.
Well said. And I think that's the key. Like, as a kid, I would have loved to have stuff like that because it's like the equivalent of sneaking those vegetables in while everyone's having, you know what I'm saying? Kids, I just want juice and cake. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, but here's this little, okay. But it's right next to that thing you love. So you're now more inclined to do it as opposed to go in there and, you know what I'm saying, read this textbook and study and eat your vegetables. Like kids that don't gravitate, that doesn't well with them. So I like this approach. I think games should do more of it. And
absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. So that's what's going on with Game Pass. And speaking of which, it's time for our Game Pass pick of the week. Cog, my friend, you are up, sir. What do you have for us?
I got an oldie but goodie, man. It's fitting now that PAX is returning that this one's on the list because this is actually one of our, I don't consider it viral videos for us, but one of the highlights of us going to PAX was we were ahead of the Streets of Rage 4 announcement. And we were one of the first, the Lords, all four of us, 4-player co-op at PAX East. And it was me, King, and we're just talking and we're shooting it. And it's just hilarious. And people, we got a lot of subscribers. People are like, yo, who are you guys? Like, we can watch you 4-play games all day. Like, this is hilarious. And it was Streets of Rage 4. And it's back, man. It's a new content update right now. Now, they had the Mr. X Nightmare mode, but now they've got this huge update. And it's not only just survival mode and all this other stuff. They're making fundamental balance changes on every character. And for the first time, like, they're doing true cooperative moves. They're implementing cooperative moves in the game. So that to me is super exciting. This is something that I have brought the controllers all for a local session on. We're going to be taking the Amtrak and Sella, and all the Lords are going to be there. Well, actually, Attic won't be on now. He's flying in, but PD will take his spot on the train ride. And we're going to do that 4-player co-op session. I'm trying to get those achievements that I'm missing. So look, salute to Guard Crush, Lizard Cube, Dotemu. This is a love letter to Streets of Rage. The game, I'm loving the support. I'm loving that it did well. Sega signed off for it. If you have not played it, this is the time to get in. They have literally revamped the entire game. I'm talking about 300 improvements to the game. Cut, like, custom survival mode. They have the modes. Like, it's a beefy boy. So go check that out if you haven't already, man. I'm looking forward to this one. This is big for me.
The Dotemu.
Yeah.
Don't think I forgot about TMNT. Don't
yeah,
you leave them behind. I'm seeing a lot of Streets of Rage 4 love.
Bro. You read my mind. Because I literally downloaded both of them at the same time.
You think something's on the way?
Yeah, no, you never know. You never know. And then I'm looking at it. These are why I love these games. I miss local co-op with the homies. What games I got 4 of my homies, what can we play together? As long as, hey, I'm just going to look over your stream while you play this hashtag just one game and just sit there and be bored. No, get this controller. Yo, you got Raphael? All right, boom. All right, I got my man down to tell him, let's go. And we can get everybody in. And so I'm bringing those games on this trip for the hotel room, for the train ride. I do stuff like this. Oh, quick download. So yeah, go get these, man. These are the ones I miss, these style of games. They are missing.
Yes. Good pick. I actually have the video up right now. I'm watching you guys play at PAX 2020.
Yeah. Bro, if you listen, it is hilarious, the stuff we do. And then I'm commentating on the NPC, everything. That people are like, yo, you are out of pocket.
Yeah.
It's a fun listen.
You guys are too funny. Mm-hmm. All right, we got some questions to end off the show. Cog, I think you're going to really like this first one here from Ravelord Nito11, who writes, greetings, Autobot Maddie and Decepticog. Long-time listener, first time writing in. This write-in's mainly for Cog, but Maddie, you can speak up on this too. Recently, Hasbro has announced some Transformers Studio Series figures, which usually is reserved for the movie characters, but they added a gaming line starting off with War for Cybertron. Now there's no way to buy the Cybertron games digitally for now. Do you guys think that Hasbro and Activision could renew the license and re-release the games? Thanks, and have one of my favorite podcast hosts disrespected my favorite Transformers series, Beast Wars, kinda day.
Yo, salute.
This is all you. I actually have not played much of these old Transformers games as well, but I know this is building off what you were talking about with the figures, your secret little hobbies. And now, is there hope that these games may come back if the gaming line is getting some action figures?
I told this to Colin. I told this to, I forgot who, I think King. This is literally why I want the Activision Blizzard deal to go through. This is literally this is selfish. I don't care about Call of Duty. Yes, Diablo and Game Pass. Okay, cool. But you all guys are sitting on the greatest Transformer games of all time that are currently delisted, right? Bro, get on the phone, Jason Ronald, call up my man Matt Teague, the director, who's a Transformer G1 fanboy. He made the greatest joint. I'm telling you right now, shout out to Raven. I didn't even know about these toys or whatever that that's coming in that they're doing. That's based on that. Hey, that gives me hope. It gives me hope.
Okay.
Hey, maybe they do. Listen, High Moon Studios has been sitting there as the Call of Duty pump out machine. These guys make great games. These guys also made some of the best Destiny DLC when they were doing Activision at one time. But yeah, these games need to come back. And these are surefire. These is easy wins. The source code is there. I don't know if they got to go. If Microsoft is involved, maybe Microsoft now can pursue their legal team with the licenses. That's how they got a lot of those other backward compatibility. Shout out to Jason Ronald team. They got a lot of those other games that we thought they wasn't going to get a shot at to come back. And even 50 Cent, but it said licensing. Someone had to call somebody a lawyer to get 50 to co-off on the side. Co-sign on that joint. So yeah, I'm hoping. It's a long shot, but these games can't die. These are the great. All the other ones are movie cash grabs. These are made with love, with G1 love. And I'm sorry, I've never really been a Beast Wars guy. So, you guys get your Optimus Prime.
You're not hyped for Rise of the Beasts in June? Oh, no.
Just not my deal. But look, I'm willing to look at it, see what it's doing.
I'm willing to look at it.
I'm willing to look at it. That's about you gonna get. I mean, it gotta be not my socks off.
Some of these bot designs are kind of weird. I won't lie.
I just don't want my robots transforming into animals. You lose me. It was cool. It was cute with the Dinobots and all that. fair. But when you got the main guys, I'm Megatron Fox. Like, no, I don't want you turning into some animal.
I see what you mean, though. The lions,
get that out of my Transformers. I'm not about that. You could be a centipede on your own time. I want to be Constructicons, merge, form, Devastator. That's what I'm about. You know what I'm saying? Megatron, Starscream. That's me. So that anyway, at the end of the day, thank you to Ravelord Nito 1, because this is exciting. Give me a little sliver of hope, man.
Yeah. Time's up well, right? The movie's coming out. Good time to drop some games. We'll see.
Nice time.
We'll see. We'll see if Activision's feeling like playing nice.
Look, I ain't even gonna front. If Activision gouge us and do the $70, your boy might be out there. That's how much I love this game.
I did that when they did, and I was critical of it still, but they did a re-release for Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance, bro, I was right there.
And I was there right away. They were like, yeah, $60. Okay. Yeah, sure. And I was like, this version sucks anyway. Like, you guys didn't even up-res the portraits, but I love this game, whatever.
Yep.
Whatever.
Same thing. They got me.
So I'm sure they can do that again. All right. Last question of the show goes to Dylan Brown. Howdy, Daisy Dukes. Colin just released the wholly political episode of Sacred Symbols Plus. If there is a political topic that both of you feel strongly about, can we expect a similar Defining Duke Ultimate episode? Have a PlayStation just bought the best side quest of the new big game for its exclusivity kind of day? Oh my God, yeah. Hogwarts Legacy.
Your hog leg.
Hog leg getting the best quest in for a premium price. Love that.
No, that's a good question. I got to start with you. I was kind of stumped. I'm like, what do I feel that strongly about?
I think everything, politics isn't everything, right?
Right.
But I think about when I produce something on my channel, I think the closest I got to political was talking about Hogwarts Legacy, because ethics started to cross over, and now ethics and politics merge more than they ever have before, because now your politics speak to many people to your character. And so, I think that's the closest I ever really got. And I don't enjoy the discourse. I don't find it ever clean. I don't find it ever insightful. I find it more like, I wanted to get something off my chest. I said something, and y'all are just going to make me pay the price for it. Whether you agree or disagree, by the way, you're more than welcome to. I always am all open for that conversation, but I will have that approach of like, what do you think? And it's more like, to me, the political type of conversations, I leave those to the pundits who have a fascination in them. Me, I like my games. And when I sit down and I think about what do I want to make, I want to make stuff that will inform you, that will educate you, but that you will also have fun. And that in a world where everything is so politicized that it seems impossible to get away from it, that you can listen to our content and take that step away. Obviously, that's with no disrespect to Colin. Colin's always been very invested in the political side of things, and that is his shtick. But, and I'm not saying, Dylan, you are claiming this. A lot of people think that when Colin does a thing, that we here at the Dukes have to do a similar thing. And I have been subject to a lot of that, this show needs its Colin. It's like, no, it doesn't. I hate to say it. No, it doesn't. That's, and I don't say that out of cockiness, but we're running a different show from top to bottom. Colin has 100%. Given us that autonomy to be like, it's your show. You can make the show as long as you want, as short as you want. You can talk about what you want. You can do what you want. Like, that's how Colin leads. And I'm much of the same. So yeah, like, we're not going to build a show that's like Sacred Symbols. Otherwise, you'll just go listen to Sacred Symbols. Like, we're going to build our own show that has its identity. And so, yeah, like, for me, I consider myself generally apolitical online, not because I think my views are going to piss you off, but just because I don't want to hear Twitter has brought in this mindset of, y'all think you got to tell me your thoughts on every fucking thing I do in my life. And I don't even know you. And that's the thing that every personality has to deal with. And it's very uncomfortable. And politics gets closer to the person. It's like, look, I know I'm a good ass person. I know I take good care of me and mine. I think my views are fine. I'm willing to hear different, but not on the internet. I don't want to have that debate with you. I want to talk games with you. That's where I lie. Now, Cog, of course, if you felt impassioned by something, I would shift my focus. I'd be like, all right, well, my bro wants to have that talk. So where do you lie on this if you feel any different or not?
I'm with you. That's literally what I said on my debut mailbag episode announcing that I'm a Duke, right? So it's just like, I was like, I don't do the political, the religion, the sexuality stuff and all that, because it's like, these are separators. I'm from an era where the gaming was not considered cool, right? Gamers, the nerds would beat up and this is our little side thing. Like, I'm a unifier. I want to look at what we have more in common, because this is what ends up happening. We all feel strongly about these things, right? And at the end of the day, I have made the conscious decision to say, if I find out about you are completely on another side of a political issue, whatever, that may make me not want to interact with you, but you may have all these other things that I have in common with you. But what I notice is people will, as soon as they found out that one thing that they feel strongly, oh, no. Cog, he's terrible. Yeah. This one's terrible. And now we're not talking to him. And that to me is so annoying. It's whack. It's whack energy to me. Like, I am not, you said it perfectly, Belly. I am not here for that. Now, I'm not saying that Cog's running or scared for the issue. If we have a conversation I disclose everything. The one big people know about me is I'm an open book. You know what I mean? If you ask me a direct question, but I choose not to go on the internet and pose my view on others and feel that I need to have a discussion with random people and go into a dialogue with random people about issues. To me, that's not important. There's real things going on in life right now. People losing their life, all type of stuff going on. I choose to use my time to bring people together and talk about the things we have in common. Because guess what? Gaming we have in common. That is a love, a passion, brother. Like, so I choose to focus on that. Not knocking anybody else that does it. I had Ray Gunn on ILP. He told me like, he started off kind of like as a political channel and stuff like that. God bless. I respect anybody who run it the way you run it. But how I'm running it, is not that. I'm going to bring people together. I'm going to look at the things we got in common. And guess last point I say, I've had people who I did know their political views and they were really staunchly opposed. And I had to, I was like, all right, let me make that separation. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Man from the art. And then I ended up becoming really good friends with the people because I gave them a chance and started to just focus. I said, look, we ain't going to talk about that because we could get into it all day. But if we talk about this, and I end up becoming a friendship, and then they kind of see each other's perspectives a little bit better.
That's I have these conversations in person, all the time, right? Because like I have two friends who have pretty staunchly opposing views, as you would put it, politically for mine, and they're my best friends. Like, to me, it's like, as you said, we'll go all day on it. I'll sometimes bring it up just so I can shoot the shit with them and just like give them a hard time. But, it's one of those things where I don't let it always define the person as a whole.
Yes.
And I just feel in a day and age where like with social media and stuff and clipping, nuance is less than ever. Where I admire Colin for going out and having those conversations. Mm-hmm. He likes having them, by the way. Yeah, and the reality is I don't like doing it. So it's like I'm not going to do something I don't like. That's the gift I have been given in my line of work is I get to choose my fate. And it's like, I choose today to not get into a debate on sexuality or whatever. Like, much like Cog, we have the same energy. Your race, your gender, your sexuality, all that stuff does not matter. Are you here to be nice and have a good time? If so, welcome to the team.
Welcome to the fan. You do this, we brothers and sisters, regardless. Yeah. That's how I look at it. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
That's our thoughts on that, Dylan. Thank you for being intrigued on our sideshow, Defining Duke Ultimate, and for those of you who are invested in future conversations, so you can expect all of them will be gaming related. So with that, Cog, we are done for the day. That's our final question of the show. Sir, we need a hashtag. What are we thinking? Do we do like I was kind of thinking about like this would be a lot of random letters, but maybe something like DDR18 plus, almost. Is that kind of sexual?
That is kind of sexual.
Yeah. Maybe like DD Pro.
Like a DD OnlyFans or something.
Yeah. You know what? This is what we do, ladies and gentlemen. We figure it out as we go along here. Maybe DD Pro. Like
DD Pro. I love it. I love it.
That one is safe. It's safe.
Because I was thinking safe, and I was thinking it fits perfectly with also the mid-generation refresh stuff. Because you go name it a Pro or Ultra. So I see what you did there. All right. I love it.
Perfect. So ladies and gentlemen, you got this deep. You want to let us know your thoughts on Twitter in the comments down below. Use the hashtag DDPro. If you head over to Twitter, I'm at G27status. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can tag both of us there again with the hashtag DDPro. Let us know your thoughts. But with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and we will see you all next week for Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast episode 117. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.